How's it going, family? Gonna give it a couple minutes, let some people join in, and then we'll kick things off. Be right back. All right, got about 200 people with us out of the gate. Hope you're all doing incredible. It is, what's today? Saturday, September 7th, September 9th. Okay, September 9th. Well, there we go. It is, according to the calendar, September 9th. What a time to be alive. All right, just gonna give it a couple gonna give it a couple more minutes to let some people come in. I hope you guys are enjoying the visuals today. I found this visual kind of screensaver type video. It looks pretty trippy though. It's like a nice thing to have in the background while you're working or something. All right, we're just going to say hi to some people. See if we could break some records today. Get to maybe 800. 800, 900 wolves in the matrix coordinating. Hey, Mad. Hope you're doing incredible. Yeah, we hit 66K. What I think was pretty amazing stat was hitting 3 million views on the channel quite recently. I thought that it's pretty dope. Like 3 million official views in under 3 years. And just growing more and more by the month. I really do believe the channel will hit 70K before the end of the year. Which, again, if you asked me 2 years ago if we'd be at this place, I felt like it would be big, but I did not know that in that time frame it would be there to where we are. So it's beautiful. Actually, I would love to just start out today by sharing my gratitude. I really am so infinitely grateful for everything that we're doing here and to be a part of your journey. I've been saying that a lot more lately because that resonates with me. Perhaps it resonates with you. But it's always important to set some targets, you know? I do this every month. It's something that I believe everyone else should maybe give a shot. And I've been doing it actually since I started off the channel because it's something that I used to do in past endeavors. And what I mean is that set some tangible numbers that you want to achieve with whatever it is you're doing. And having that target, and like I teach in my expansion mastermind course, to operate from your target, that changes the game. Gives you something to, gives you something to work for, but it also gives you something to act from. This alters your behavior. It alters the way that you take action in the small things. And what most people are not aware of, the difference between mediocrity and excellence is actually in the small behavioral changes, because those compound quite a bit. This is why I tell you guys all the time to like make a note on your phone and then screen cap it and make that your phone background. If you really want to change your mindset, every single time you're looking at that fucking phone, well, I gotta watch the out. It's too soon into the live stream. Anyways, if you keep looking at it so often, you're gonna start to think about it every single time. You either open up your phone or you go over to whatever, your computer screen at your desk. I know people like to do affirmations and all this, but like create these little cheat codes are super helpful, especially if you're trying to readjust your behavior or just change the way you think, like to reduce the ceiling that's above you that you put there, these limiting beliefs. To expand, you need to reevaluate where you're limiting yourself. And obviously a big thing you could do is you can set different levels of goals. I'm sure a lot of you have already researched this, but like having stretch goals is really, really helpful. And to break down what that is, a stretch goal is something that you almost know you're not going to be able to do. Like you almost know you're not even going to be able to like a good stretch goal for my channel would be like, I'm going to hit 150,000 subscribers before the end of this year. Well, that's double. And at where I'm at right now, that's quite difficult actually. When you get above like 30, 40K subs, it's hard to grow that much in such a short amount of time. Unless you have some exterior help or you're paying for the growth, like you're paying to get fake subscribers, which we see that all the time. I mean, I see it all the time. I've seen many channels out there that have 1 million subscribers and they get like 5,000 views on their video in like 3 weeks. I upload a video and it gets 5,000 views in like 3 hours every single time. So I have organic viewership. This is real people that actually support the art. And yeah, you could easily just pay for shit. We know that the world is quite easy today. Or you could have a team of people behind you, like a marketing agency, and they could do that work for you as well. So anyways, having that stretch goal of like 150,000, what we see, and this is just give you guys somewhat of a some tangible numbers to work with, and it's not like egoic at all. It's again, it's about creating a target. So wherever you're at in your process, like whatever you do, obviously, if you don't do anything similar to what I do at all, that doesn't matter. It could be clients that you have. Let's just say, to change it so it's not about necessarily what I'm doing, let's just say you typically get 10 clients a month, right? So a stretch goal for you would be like saying, I want to get 20 clients in the month of September. All right, well, like you're barely getting 10, right? Like 10 is like you're really doing pretty decent. But what happens is when we set the stretch goal of 20 this month, you're going to definitely increase your work behavior to have just higher quality performance, higher quality output. And obviously there's this work harder, work smarter element to it, but what could occur is that you might get 13 clients. Now, typically every month you're getting like between 9 to 11. So that extra 3, above your average, you might not even have got there if you just were on that typical settling for 10 deal. Now, what happens is now you get this taste of better results because you've tried this stretch goal idea. So in the month of October, you still have this 20 that you want to hit, and you get to 17. And you're like, holy shit, that's actually a game changer for some people to increase from something that's doing pretty well for them to an additional 70% or whatever. Like, that could be financial freedom for some people, depending on how high ticket your offer is or whatever you do. And if you didn't have that stretch goal, you might have just gotten comfortable with enough. You might have just gotten comfortable with what was necessary to make you, pay the bills and have a little bit extra on the side. And then what happens is there's this effect where you go into the month of November, right? Where like now you've tasted what 17 is like, and then you're going to hit 20. And not only are you going to hit 20, but you're never going to be able to look back at 10. It's just, this is the new you. You see what that did? And again, we could do this in every way. We could do this in exercise, you know, like let's just say you're an Olympic, you're training for powerlifting, right? And you have like reps or weight goals. You can do the stretch goal concept there. Let's just say you're trying to do a certain amount of pull-ups. You can only do 5. Let's just say your stretch goal is 10. You'll see in like 2.5 months, you'll be hitting 8 to 10. You'll be doubling your numbers just because you're starting to think differently. And then going back to 5 is like your warm-up. And you could do this in business. You could do this in every aspect of your reality. And I've been doing this since the beginning in pretty much everything, even music, like playing guitar and writing songs and getting better at my craft. So I don't know, maybe that kind of stuff is needed to talk about where we're at right now, especially when it comes to this world we're moving into. Like we've already moved into it as of the last 2 years, but now everyone's getting comfortable in it. And if you want some words of wisdom, when everyone starts to get comfortable, when the masses get comfortable, they start to get lazy. And that is the easiest time for you to showcase your excellence. It's the easiest fucking time for you to succeed. Period. End of story. It's easy to be fucking great when everyone doesn't care about being even decent. Right? And I hope people feel these words, because so many people, they sit around and they point fingers and they play the victim and they hate their life, or they complain and they want things to be better for them and they want God to come back and save them or whatever. But it's like, you got to take action. You got to take action. And I'm telling you right now, the easiest time to take action is when everyone else is just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. That's why they have those, you know, common statements about the market where like you buy when there's blood in the streets. Well, why do you do that? Because everyone's scared shitless. So things are discounted, and it's no different right now in creating business or just excelling in whatever it is you do, whatever your craft is and whatever you're focused on. So again, the easiest time to be great is when everyone else settles for mediocrity. Which is another important note to all of this. Stop complaining now, because you're complaining in a time where this is the easiest time to excel. Like seriously. You know, like fucking 30 years ago, nobody could really get around being talentless and making large sums of money or making an excessive amount of connections unless they were like bloodline related or they were born into a family that had that. It was very difficult to do. But now you could have a fucking TikTok account and you could be like a celebrity for shaking your ass around. You know, like it's easier now more than ever to get prana. Now it's just up to you as a wise and a conscious individual to determine how you want to extract that prana. Are you going to be a real one, or are you going that other route, selling your soul? I mean, I'm not here to tell you how to do you, but I know how I'm doing this. It was pretty funny the other day. The other day I made this comment over on this platform, X. You guys probably heard of it. But somebody sent me this video of Ben Armstrong. And let me back this up. This right here. And some of the comments that I received back, I was pretty shocked that like people don't understand the ramifications of selling your soul. But this is literally something that came out of this guy's mouth. He said, they took the Lamborghini from me because it was in the company name. And all of his other assets were also in the company name. Now, I'm not trying to shoot shots at this individual. That's not my point here. I actually was happy for the honesty for once. not only with crypto influencers, but just any fucking anyone, for them to just come out and admit. And some people were challenging this idea here that this individual has, that this is the example, the token example of what a handler is. Like, people couldn't wrap their head around this. Some people even went to the lengths to try to explain to me what is just called a business write-off, as if I got this far without knowing that. You feel me? But it's like, these are examples of what not to be. I think this is a good story time, okay? Maybe you guys will resonate with this. And then I'll be getting to the chat. Anyone who's sent any supers, I appreciate your support. I'll get to that in a moment. But a little quick story time. One of the things I noticed about myself when I was growing up and I get asked this question all the time. People are like, well, what was like the moment where you realized, this path of enlightenment or whatever it is? When did you realize this state of consciousness? The one thing that I noticed is it was very hard to influence me. And I had more of a natural response to what I did not want to be like, more than what I wanted to be like. I noticed that in myself. Like, when I saw people acting a specific way, I was more attuned to going, oh, I never want to be like that, than I ever was the opposite, where it would be like, oh, I want to be like that. All the people that I wanted, that I was really like influenced by, in a sense, I never actually wanted to be like them. I just liked certain qualities they have. It kind of comes back to this, big piece of my overall philosophy, which is believe in yourself and resonate with everything else. Believe internally and resonate externally. Everything outside of you obviously is just a mirror reflection of you. But once you give up your prana and start to believe outside of yourself, this is when shit gets off the rails. And this is obvious. This is the state of the way things are going today in the majority. So the long and short about this idea is that I noticed that in myself at a very early age, and it's something that I've been sticking to, which is that I'm more naturally responsive to what I don't want to be like. So when I was studying money, when I was studying the wealthy, when I was studying people who really fucking played the right game of chess, they weren't cutting corners, they were thinking the long game, and they were really confident in small wins instead of going for Hail Mary passes. They were doing it methodically, strategically, and they were doing it for something that was bigger than just them in the now. This is what's fascinating about the presence and the now moment, is it's important to operate from that. But with a lot of your decisions, if you could somehow have an outlook on what the future is going to be like, of course that's going to be better for your ability to take action when something happens in the now. For instance, if chaos arises, how will you respond to that? Well, it's a lot easier to respond to that when you had preparation, right? And the only preparation you really need is a mental capacity, to forecast and tell the temperature, if you will, of the way things are going, whether that be in the economy or that be in what's going on with military or with weather or with whatever, right? Obviously, the man who's able to forecast this has an easier presence because it doesn't shock him or her when shit hits the fan. So I think that it might be worth it to explore this idea of influence. I know me and Logan had a really long conversation about influence. And to just add a little piece to this, and we'll build off of it more as we go through today's live stream. It might be more beneficial for us to take a day or two to just meditate on what I'm talking about right now and think about what you would not want to be like, more than the efforts that you give to this idea of what you want to be like. Because you already are what you are. You have a code that runs through you, and you're also a soul. You're an infinite consciousness. You have everything you need. You have nothing without. It is as above, so below, as within, so without. There is nothing without you. So you have it all. So maybe stop giving up so much prana to what you want to be like, because you are. You are all. Spend a little bit more time on thinking about what you don't want to be like. And this is a good example of something I would never want to be like. You're not going to see me signing over everything that I fucking built to some other company so that I could get more thumbs up on YouTube videos. What a sad soul. This is like asking for a pair of handcuffs to be put on your wrists. And no matter how much money they wave in front of my fucking face, it will never happen. It will never happen. And to have to even explain to people that this is slavery shows that people have a lot to they really do need to advance from checkers to chess. Because I'll tell you right here, this is a rookie checkers move. This whole concept. This wasn't about putting an asset in your name. This was about giving up everything you've built to some other organization that could kick you out at any time they want. And if you don't have what it takes to grow, then you need to surround yourself with a loyal group of like-minded individuals, which this is clearly not the case here. And don't get it twisted. This is a cold world. And people that you believe in will fuck you over for some profits. Like I said, it's a cold world. So build your fucking empire with integrity and honor, and don't let anyone parasite you in the process. Learn from the failure that surrounds you so that you yourself do not have to go through it. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a beautiful Saturn day so far. Got about 450, 500 people with us. Gonna say hi to a couple wolves. And if you're just joining in, what we were just talking about was setting targets, having a stretch goal, make your stretch goal double from where you're at right now with whatever you do. And then take action and stay accountable. Stay accountable. And come up with a rhythm where you are the one that keeps yourself accountable. That is super important. I know I book client calls and I work with some people closely and I'm able to coach, but I always teach in a way. And you guys could vouch for this in any capacity, whether it's through live streams, directly talking to me on a one-on-one call, or taking my course. You'll see that the idea here behind what I do, the essence of what I do, is to hand over self-reliance. It's to make it so that you never have to hire another call from me ever again in your life. That's what makes me feel better. That's what makes me feel like I just gifted somebody the ultimate gift of all, which is that they can now do it on their own. And not only do I want them to do it on their own, I want them to do it better so that when it comes back around, there's something that I could extract from it. And that's the beauty of it all. That's life. I know that I specialize in something. I know that you specialize in something. You might be coming to me because you seek clarity in how to execute that thing that you do in a more harmonious way for mind, body, and soul. I could absolutely help there. But then there's going to be a day where I might need what you specialize in, and boom. That's where it's a symphony. I'm in this life to be in a symphony. I don't know about you. But I always look at life that way. I always look at life like it's a big dance, not a sword fight. I always look at life like it's a musical. I got Janet with me. I hope you're doing well, Janet. Sending you lots of love. Looking forward to connecting soon on our next group coaching call. Dustin, I hope you're doing well, brother. Maria Di Carlucci, appreciate you. Helena, sending you lots of love. Damien, Lola Blondo. Cordy G, sending you love. Robert Jones says, literally just finished the episode of Dark and the Discord notification popped up. Dope. That's a great show. That's a really good show. Eleonora, sending you love. I hope you're doing well over there in the Netherlands. I hope the Netherlands is doing all right now. Also, shout out to any wolves that are in Greece. I know that it's been hit by floods. Okay, we got about 500 people in here. I just want to clear the air on something that I think is really important, so you guys just know like what I'm about, because I really do feel the need to say this today. After we started getting all these floods, like in Toledo, Madrid, that's in Spain, obviously Hong Kong a couple days ago, Greece for like a week, Turkey. You know what happened in the Black Rock Desert at Burning Man. And we were talking about to expect water rituals, 2-3 weeks before we even got the first one, right? And a lot of people started writing to me, being like, I don't know how you do it. I can't believe this. You called it this, and that. And I just want to let people know, like, I'm not here to be right. I'm not the predictions guy. I'm not here to predict. I'm over that. I don't need that prana anymore. Like, I'm a decoder. I'm here to reveal a decoding system that hopefully you can utilize for yourself, and it could benefit you at whatever capacity. That's really my role here. I've moved on from this wanting to be right thing. And it actually kind of breaks my heart that people, I know people don't mean this. Okay? But like, it always brings me back to that one scene in The Big Short where, what are they called? Like Brownsfield hedge fund. They're trying to get a ISDA contract, and this way they could like sit at the big boys table with larger trades, and they could do some more fancy trading styles. And then Brad Pitt, who actually I believe directed the movie, Brad Pitt plays this like hedge, like kind of like trader on Wall Street who was at a big firm. I don't know where he worked for, like Deutsche or something. But anyways, he gets them the contract. He's kind of like helping them in the process, and then finally he's a trade organized for these horribly rated packaged CDOs. And he comes up with an idea to like short the double A's or whatever. And like, I know I'm getting a little bit off the rails here, but this is super important because it actually does resonate with me. And I think that my integrity is important in the spirit realm. Like, at the end of the day, what you guys think about me, like, that's beautiful and all, but like, I look at life like super, like, as a spiritual being. This is why I was talking about this before, this whole like this shit. Because this isn't something a spiritual being does. This is something a materialistic being does. And I don't play for that team. So there's this one scene in the movie where these two kids, like, they're like dancing and they're happy that they just got this trade set up. And Brad Pitt turns around. He's like, you don't understand. Like, every time there's like a 1% drop in unemployment, like, people die. And he's like, I know you're excited, but like, just stop fucking dancing. Because this is facts. Like, people commit suicide. It gets dark. It's dark. Okay? So I know that like I made some quote unquote predictions about like floods and shit, but like, people are dying. Like, I'm not dancing over here. These are children. Like, you understand where I'm coming from right now? So it's cool and all to like have a system where we're able to determine when things will happen, whether that be with the market or like on the world stage. But like, we're talking about human beings' lives. And that's my only motivation to share this intuitive channeled truth, because maybe it will allow people to reconsider some things and start taking some things a little bit more seriously than the things they used to take seriously. And that might help promote a life that is more harmonious to them, and perhaps in a place that's safer for them, and have a setup where at a moment's notice, they can take action. That's all. But I just wanted to clear that up for everyone, because I'm not like, there's nothing glorious about being right about hearing tens of thousands of people die. And it's just getting started. Like, people need to understand that we're at the precipice of a ritual after a ritual after a ritual after a ritual. I'm surprised I'm still fucking here with you guys right now. Like, that's real talk. Like, we're just getting started. Like, we're going to start seeing lots of earth rituals. I mean, I believe there's already a horrible earthquake as of last night in Morocco. So this moreover started out as me just saying, like, shout out to the people, shout out to the wolf pack, shout out to all of our, brothers and sisters around the realm that might be affected by this stuff. This isn't the boo-hoo game, but this is also, like, I know that we're playing a special role in all of it because we have a sight. We have a sight in a world that is blind. And sometimes it's a burden to have that sight, especially if you have a heart. So it doesn't make me feel good to know that this is what I'm seeing right now. And it's hard sometimes, especially with market dynamics, because most people are living in la la land. Like, they have no fucking clue what's to come. And it's odd to me how many people are... I shouldn't get too deep into this right now. Maybe I could save this for later. But a lot of this stuff with Ripple, I feel like people are like disregarding and turning a blind eye to just because they have this idea of an opportunity to make a lot of money. Like, people need to be aware that Ripple is in the process of tying themselves to banks, and they already are tied to banks that are full-fledged moving forward with central bank digital currencies. And then we have this like XRP army group that's like supporting this shit. And I'm like, what are we doing right now? You guys are saying you're about the truth and you're saying you like appreciate sovereignty, but you're supporting a group of Zionists who want to impose a system that you already know is draconian and disgusting in every capacity. And the only reason you support them and you turn a blind eye to that shit is because you think you're going to make money someday off of this. And I don't know. It's not the way I'm playing this game. It's not the way I'm looking at it. And I've been forward and speaking the truth on this matter since day one. Stop fucking supporting these people. You don't know them, even if you went to a conference and you shook their hand. You don't know a man until he's crying in your arms or until he's about to kill you. Remember that. Anyone can smile and shake their fucking hand with you and you could think they're a good person. If that is your judgment system, then it's time to wake up. There's plenty of people out there that are shaking hands, then behind closed doors, they're fucking pedophiles. And if you know of an organization that is tying themselves to central bank digital currencies, not just one, but multiple, how could you be so gung-ho in support of such a thing? Like, it's really disturbing me lately how much I see this support for this, and people are aware of it, yet they turn a blind eye. I get the idea of betting on the New World Order, but here's what I'll end this with this. Bet on the New World Order with your fucking money, not your heart. There is no support needed here. Support your people. Support your people. The XRP army is not your people. It's a group of internet, it's an internet phenomenon. Okay? It's an internet phenomenon. It's a cultural moment. If you met these people in the streets, you wouldn't save them if they were drowning, and they wouldn't save you. You're just here to share memes with each other and laugh and praise David Schwartz. Like, it's time to reconnect with your higher self here. I feel like these words needed to be said. Also, can somebody enlighten me for a moment? Please enlighten me. What is up with all of these like pirate flag emojis on everyone's name in like Twitter when they all talk about the XRP thing? Is this some sort of... I know I'm Patrick Starr, right? You guys know me. I'm Patrick Starr. I live under a fucking rock. I wait around for people to tell me what's going on in the world stage. You know, there's me, if you guys want to know what I look like. So, because I'm in the dark about this, what is up with these fucking pirate flags? I mean, to me, what I see is it's a skull and crossbones flag. It's a flag of Saturn. Do they know this? Do they? I mean, I assume they don't. But what's up with all this like Saturn worship going on? I mean, even the X logo, the logo of Twitter now, X, it's a skull and it's a crossbones. It's black and white. It's death. It's the Grim Reaper. Hey, why do people worship all this shit? Just odd to me. Does anyone even know what it is that they're worshiping? Isn't that one of the things they teach you in like the basics of the Abrahamic religions? And I'm not going to go religious today because that's not, we need to have a different vibe today. But don't they tell you to like watch out for symbols? I don't know. I just think it's interesting. Anyways, we're going to say hi to a couple people, answer some questions, share some love. Jai Chef says, let's go to 70. Absolutely. Pro Frask, sending you love. James Morgan says, what does it matter if your channel got to 70K? I'll tell you exactly what it means. It means that 4,000 more people than right now have aligned with my truth. And those are 4,000 more opportunities, not only for me, but 4,000 more opportunities that can fragment out to their friends and family and hopefully be tuned into something like what you're experiencing with me right now on this live stream. And this could have a ripple effect that has an enormous magnitude. That's what I think of those 4,000 extra people. That's the difference. And whether it was 4,000 or 4, just in the time of doing this live stream, there's probably been at least 4 more people. And if they came here through listening to the last 20 minutes of what I had to say, then there you go. I see the beauty in that. We're planting seeds out here. And we're speaking from our heart. I look at everything as opportunity. CMGZ, I appreciate you. Lots of people from the Netherlands hanging out with us. Got about 600 people as well. Wishing you all an amazing Saturn day. Sending you all lots of love. Wraith says, the expansion mastermind changed my life. Jordan, thank you for all you do. That really means the world to me. It's beautiful that this course that I created resonates with you. Maybe it didn't change your life, but it allowed you to see into a perspective that resonates with you and helped you remember what you've always known. And that's why it tapped into you in that particular way, and it adjusted your frequency accordingly. Hey, Sybil, sending you lots of love. Hope you're doing well. Phoenix138 said, did you manage to contact Archaics about another get-together? I did try to get in contact with him because somebody else wanted to organize that, and I still haven't heard back from him. So we're trying our best to make it happen, but I've done my part. Now I just have to kind of wait around. Perhaps if any of you here are followers of Archaics' work and you go on his live streams or whatever else he's doing in his other works, perhaps just let him know that WatersAbove would love to reconnect for a round 2 regarding what's going on with this Jubilee. Wraith says, how do you know when your third eye is open? That's a good question. I know that's a common question that people ask. Here's the thing. And this is why you guys never hear me say such things. You don't hear me talking about like decalcifying the pineal gland or like opening the third eye or any of that. All is mind. It is all of your mind. What we need to actually do is just realize that. And when you realize that it's all your mind, your imagination now becomes a tool instead of once being a weapon. And your imagination has been weaponized against you since you were a child. You were speaking purely, and every time you spoke purely from your own divine intuition, an adult came in and shut that down. Typically, that's what happens 99% of the time. A programmed adult programmed you and deactivated this beautiful intuition you have. I think that this is really what we're getting into when we discuss the idea of consciousness, because now there's utility. See, imagination has creative essence. It has utility. The idea of being open-minded, it doesn't actually have much utility, because you can open up the mind and just fill it and fill it and fill it, and then it just becomes a garbage bag full of fucking trash. Like, I know people like to think that they should just store and add more information into their brains, but until a man learns how to use it, then it's useless. You're just a hoarder of data. And I don't want anyone here to be consumed by hoarding data. I want you to actually be able to go back to things that you already have within you and learn how to utilize those things that you already have within you. It's not that you need more information. It's that you need to know how to utilize the information you already have. See, we all have a toolbox inside of us with 1,000 rusty tools that are sitting around waiting to be used. And what we feel better by doing is through practicing what our damaged ego loves to do, which is, I need more. I need more. This is the matrix. We love material. We want to have a screwdriver for every fucking occasion. It makes us feel better. It's like a woman having a pair of shoes for every day of the week and then some. Now, shout out to all the women out there. Like, I love you. We love you. But you feel what I'm saying right now. Sometimes it's important to be simple. This is why the truth of truths is simple. And it doesn't require all this fluff. It doesn't require it to be decorated. But you notice how it's easy to bamboozle like a group of people and to brainwash a group of people by having an initial lie that's within another lie, that's within another lie, like a Russian doll. And it's so decorated that people just give up on the second layer of trying to seek truth. And that's how this world runs. It's a maintenance lie of a lie of a lie. And what you guys have is a technology within you that's like a bullshit meter. You can smell the bullshit from many, many miles away, from oceans away. And you've learned that by stripping down to its simplest form is actually where the juice is. It's where the utility is. You don't need more information. You need to learn how to get to the fucking core of it all. You need to learn how to strip it away. The additive principle is a cancer. I have my words on this additive principle because it's become the way of man today. Now men have fucking a pair of shoes for every occasion. So don't get offended, ladies. This is all part of the plan. It's to have man be so consumed by his materialism that he doesn't even know that he is spirit. We spend so much time in the enlightened communities and the conscious communities talking about the third eye, talking about the pineal gland. It's not going to change anything for you if you have more awareness of this. I'll be the first one to say it. You can do all the fasts in the world. You could do all the meditation. You could surround yourself by 5-foot fucking amethyst crystals. It's not going to change a thing. What allows you to change is when you're able to be compassionate, when you're able to forgive, when you're able to face something that seems evil in the present and see the beauty within it. That compassion. That's what's going to change your life. It's going to change your life if you have the ability to hug the person that stabbed 1,000 daggers in your back, and you could smile at them as they're stabbing you and show them that you can't fucking hurt me. Good try. Maybe try again. And you don't even need to speak these words. You know how you do what I just said, those words? You do that by being fucking excellent. You be so great that that's what speaks. Your actions. Let them sin against you while you stay in your lane and you conquer the empire. Let them talk while you conquer. That's it. So I get it. People want to go down this spiritualism path and they think that it has some sort of change on the other side of it, but I'm here to let you know that that's just the waiting game. That's another part of savior technology, having you wait for the day that never comes. You have to get up out of that full lotus position and you have to do. That's all. That's the cure of cures, is by you becoming an architect. You know, in the Matrix movie, there's Neo, there's an Oracle, there's Agent Smith, and there's the architect. Well, guess what? Neo is actually all of those things at once. He's just slowly realizing it. He's slowly realizing Trinity as a mirror reflection of a part of himself. He's slowly realizing that the Oracle is a mirror reflection of a part of himself. He's realizing that this Agent Smith guy is actually a part of me. This is all it. It's just reflections. So this person that stabbed you in the back, that you're having an issue with forgiving them, I want you to close your eyes right now, and I want you to imagine that they are just a reflection of you. You needed them. You needed those daggers in your back. That made you this person you are today. And when you own that experience, that's what changes you. That's what changes worlds. That's what makes you. Not even what makes you who you are. That is what makes you. That's how I feel about opening the third eye. Sending lots of love over to Bulgaria. I appreciate you. G Art of Soul. Rune Dragon says man is the only species willing to sell out his brothers or sisters for a profit. That's actually, I wouldn't agree with that. Actually, I think a lot of other animals trick and deceive their own kind to not become a meal. If you don't think that's a thing, then you need to observe nature more. Like for real, a mother lion will eat her own babies if it's too cold outside and she's hungry. Like the animal kingdom is rough. Think about it. When you remove money completely from it, you don't get more pure. I know we like to think that this system right now is the way that we've been told. Even from the conscious perspective, we go, oh, this is, you know, this money shit is horrible. It's fucked up. It's making life. No, are you serious? Having the system the way it is today is the least violent and most sheepishly controlled, properly operating system we have. Think about it. Because of debt, you all get to live, and don't take this fucking personally. Sit yourself in your heart right now. Anyone who takes any of this personally, that's not what this is about. We're in the sauna together right now. It's sweaty. It's fucking hot in here. So if you're not ready for the spice, X button at the top right corner, peace out. But if you're here to sweat with me, then let's go, okay? So Without money, without debt, you wouldn't all be living like kings and queens. When you want a fucking car, what do? You go take out a loan and you get the car. They say yes. They say, here's the keys, George. When you want the house, they give you the mortgage. You don't even have like 20 grand down on the thing and they give you the whole house. What do you think that is? You get to live like a king and a queen because of this fucking system. So if they take this away, what do you think happens? People start killing each other. Like, this is a very nice system we have right now. I know people like don't like it. I know people have their way with it, but like, people need to just fucking remember there was a time that it was way more brutal, and having a system where you just say yes to people and put them in an infinite debt is actually the safest, most organized way of doing it. And also what it does is it allows the opportunity for the great individuals to tap into how this system works, read over the rules so they can learn how to break them without getting caught, and then you get to take advantage of all the same shit. It's like the tax code. Everyone's complaining about the tax code, but it's like, why don't you go study it instead of fucking complaining about it? Instead of having an opinion about something, how about you go study it? This is going to be a huge section in the Unity of Architects, the final chapter in my expansion mastermind course. It's going to be talking about what I just said, because that's what the last chapter is called, Unity of Architects. So it's going to be breaking into a lot of these concepts and philosophies. But I'll be adding this chapter very soon, this last chapter. So the idea here is that people complain and they hate this world and they say it sucks and the monetary system's a fraud and whatever. But it's like, yo, there was a time when somebody wanted something. They showed up at your house with a musket, pointed it in your wife's face, and they said, give me all your shit. And that was like norm. That was like a day in the life of whatever. You always had to be looking over your shoulder. So having this sophisticated debt-based monetary system is actually the safest system to have. And you add surveillance on top of that, and boom, you have a whole other layer. Now, this isn't WatersAbove saying that this is what I want, but I'm not going to fucking complain about the inevitable. That's the difference. See, a conscious man just goes with the fucking flow. And in the meantime, in the background, I've been studying all of this, so I've been prepared for it all. And I know how to take advantage of whatever way it goes. That's what I teach. I don't teach you to point at it and complain. I teach you how to go, oh, I should observe this so that through my observance, I could understand it. And through that understanding and realization, I can now figure out a way to work with it because it's inevitable. CBDCs, it's inevitable. So let's learn how to work with that. Let's learn how to benefit from it. Let's learn how to pivot when needed. But being all reactionary and emotional and complaining and talking about how Klaus Schwab is the Antichrist, that's not going to get shit done. So I know these words are spicy, but like this is just the energy that we need to transition into if we want to make it through this storm, because it's not for the weak. What's to come is not for the weak. It will devour them. And for those of you that are listening here today, it won't affect you. Like step 1, know thyself is protected. Step number 2, act as if you know thyself is protected. Step number 3, speak as if thyself is protected. Step number 4, do not get fucking distracted. Because the distractions are just decoys. That's all you need. Then you have the recipe. Now go cook. But I don't want to hear people talk like complaining about this fucking system, because this system, it gives you everything you want with very little, effort. You don't need to have any skills. You barely need to have any cash down on anything you want. You want to watch, all you need right now is enough cash flow to support all of the streaming services you like to use. The whole world has just been turned into a renter's subscription platform. So that's another thing. That's the final thing I'll say on this. And it's not to tell people how to use your money. This is some food for thought, right? if you have a Spotify membership, an HBO Max, fucking Netflix, if you have like 5 different, 6 different streaming services right now, and it's adding up to be like whatever, $70, $80, $90 a month, like, you could be investing that 80 to 90 a month in some serious knowledge and wisdom that could bring you a return on that investment. Like, if you love music so much that you have all these streaming platforms, like, consider that you could have a subscription payment to a digital workstation, like something like Ableton or Pro Tools or whatever. And then instead of using that money to consume, you can use it now to create. You see that nuance? Like, I'm not telling you to go buy my Patreon membership or buy my stuff. That's not what it is. I'm just saying, like, think about what I'm saying here. And also remember that debt is just handed to you nowadays. Like, with a rock bottom credit score, a lot of people are getting approved for whatever they want. That's not going to last forever. And that's exactly why they're setting us up for this kind of social score world. Because instead of saying no to you based on your credit score, they'll say no to you based on these new metrics. And you guys know all about this. Kalita, sending you lots of love. I hope you're doing well. April Flowers, sending love over to you in Maui. I'm just looking through some of these questions. Somebody said, I thought crypto is a way to decentralize the normal fiat system. No, absolutely not. Crypto was invented by the same people who created the fiat system, which is a group of Mercurial worshipping, Saturnian worshipping, Jupiterian worshipping elite who share a bloodline. See, when the minds are centralized, anything else that they create is centralized, and they could stamp on this buzzword of decentralization to make you feel good about yourself, but that's just a psyop. I've been very vocal about this since the beginning. Crypto is and will always be about it just being an extension of this draconian, fiat-like nonsense of belief. It's just programmed belief and a different form of programming. That's like the best way to describe what crypto is. It's a variant of program belief. Waters above definition. The next time somebody asks you what's crypto, you say it's a variant of program belief. Friedrich's team says, haven't you been accumulating XRP? Yes, I have. But the point that I was making earlier is about, I'm not sitting here worshiping the team of people behind it as if they're helping me in this process. And that goes for anyone that's focused on any investment. Like, you don't become wealthy, successful, and rich by giving up all your prana to the company. You just do your research and you remove your emotions completely from it, and you have a long enough time horizon, and also on the sidelines, a cash flow system, like 3 other investment, theses that you can go back to and cross-reference if needed, if times change. You see, like, I'm looking at this like a chess player, but I'm not sitting here worshiping Satoshi. Like, I don't get anything from that, and neither do you. So you can still accumulate these projects and do what you got to do, like the same way you work with fiat today. Like, we all can agree that fiat is like poison toilet paper, but hey, I need it if I want to buy fucking food. So why waste my prana on worshiping it or hating it when it's just inevitable? It keeps coming back to the same thing. You feel me? So I do accumulate XRP, but I don't make it this emotional kind of like, it's not like Ripple is my family. I'm not investing in them. Like, you know, you're not investing in Ripple when you get XRP, right? Some people think, like, I don't even know where to begin with a lot of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because it depends on where people are at. But I'm just here to say that I'm not supporting any of these blockchain fintech companies. I realize that it's inevitable that our economy's moving in this direction. Excuse me. I've realized that it's inevitable that our economy is moving in this direction, and all I'm going to do is do my part after I went over the rules, so that way what's to come doesn't affect me. Or the way it affects me is a positive, or at best neutral. But it won't be a me rooting for the system that enslaves me. I'll say that again. It won't be me rooting for the system that enslaves me. Like, think about it. It's called blockchain. You're chained to the block. What more is there to say? I just think there's a different way we could go about investment. Okay, so somebody enlightened me off of the question that I asked earlier and said, when some people send a picture of their country, it changes to a pirate flag. So that's some automation that's going on the back end. That's very interesting, because then that definitely means that X is just programming this Saturnian concept into all of what. Okay, cool. Thank you for letting me know. Somebody said, why waste your time on Twitter? Well, you know, I think that's a really honest and fair question to ask, and I don't mind answering it, because if anyone has been following my art for the last couple of years, you guys know I used to talk so much mess on Twitter because I just didn't understand it. And what I learned is that that's just limiting me. Like, I have to grow. And when I talk about grow, I don't just mean from business or followers. Like, I think the experience with Twitter has actually helped me tremendously on seeing how people act in a way that you wouldn't normally get to see them on a platform like YouTube. So I'll come out and say it. The way people behave on Twitter, I know I could say this because I know you guys aren't the easily offended bunch, but okay, I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. All right. And in Brooklyn, we know there's like a type of person that you'll call out because you know that they're talking in a way where they've never gotten punched in the mouth before. And that's a thing we would say. We'd be like, you're talking like a person that's never been punched in the fucking mouth. Like, we've all been there. We've all been humbled by somebody for talking in a way that we can't back up. Like, talking out of our ass, and we are just not ready for the consequences of that way of talking. This is actually what's made me the man that I am today. It's why I'm able to talk the way I talk. And if anyone has had conversations with me directly, you know that I really know how to work with people's energy. Like, I know exactly what way to go. I could take a 7-foot, gangster who has, like fucking killed people in jail, and I could have a heart-to-heart conversation with him and hug him afterwards. I could get that man emotional if needed. I just know how to work with people's energy. And if we were to take like 95% of the shit that people know they can get away with on Twitter and put that shit in the streets, whew. Oh man, there'd be beatdowns going on every fucking millisecond on every block. It just wouldn't work. Now, I'm not a proponent for violence. I'm not here saying that we should hurt each other. That's not it. But what I'm saying right now is the way people talk on Twitter is just a different energy. It's like it's the type of person that's never been punched in the fucking mouth. They just haven't. They're soft, insecure people, and this is their only opportunity to act hard and to act like they know something and to act tough. And I just know that the same individual, if they brought that essence into the real world, they would be humbled real quick. And the type of person that acts that way is typically a person who's very poor in their soul. They have a lot of insecurities. Now, when it comes to the ghetto and when it comes to the streets, a lot of that is made up of people that have tons of insecurities. I'm not here to say that they're doing it right in the streets. There's clearly a reason why they're stuck here at this level and why they haven't leveled up. But it's actually interesting, that dynamic of people. Because I know that on the internet, that's a safe place for people to get away with their insecurities in that format. And then in the real world, like out in these streets, there's a different type of insecurity, and it showcases itself in that way. Now, both parties have damaged egos. Both parties have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of opportunity to collaborate, actually. They believe they're operating in collaboration, but once they see something that's starting to like infiltrate their path, they get all defensive. Everything's about violence, So let's be cautious here on like what we're clapping hands towards. Like, I'm not here applauding the streets. I'm just letting you know that that's where I come from. And I could see on Twitter that these are people that this is their only place that they could get away with this. And it's such a lack way of operating. It's such a small way of operating. And it's actually helped me. So I'm answering this question because I believe maybe it could help some other people and perhaps other business owners, people that are coaches or whatever, and allowing you to step onto this platform that's extremely toxic and utilize it like a tool. So that's all I've been doing with everything that I do. I've been trying to figure out, how do I go through an experience of something that maybe I don't necessarily love, but I could figure out a way to spread my love through it. And I get to choose what offends me. I get to choose what bothers me. And that goes for every platform. Like, it's just Twitter is the easiest place to get offended. It's the easiest place to have people poking you with daggers because of the way that it's set up. It's like the home of the keyboard warrior who has Cheeto dust fingertips and sits on a moldy beanbag chair all day in his grandmother's basement, playing fucking Minecraft or whatever, and then complaining about how the world sucks. Like, I mean, that just is what it is. They're like mad because they didn't make money in the bull run or whatever. And now they're complaining about the scam of crypto. So I use Twitter because it's an opportunity, and it's taught me a lot about our species, and it's made me more compassionate, and it's actually made my temperament better, and it's just helped me grow on many levels. And I think that's what we all have to do. We have to go through life figuring out the things that bother us and learn a way to alchemize it, transmute it all. So that's my wisdom on that experience. Rob G, I appreciate your super chat, brother. I'm sending you lots of love. You said, wishing you a peaceful Saturday, brother. Any hidden knowledge behind the 13th zodiac? Ophiuchus. Woo, I haven't been asked this question. So Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. And regarding kind of the constellation shape, it's more like a butterfly. And I find that pretty fascinating because this comes back to the monarch butterfly. And you guys have probably heard of monarch programming. To go a little deep into what the monarch is everything that you learn in esoterica comes back to a part of the anatomy. I'm going to be teaching this in my decoding mastermind that's coming out in a couple months, but I could share a little bit of my thoughts here with you guys, just off the top of my dome. So the monarch, the butterfly, actually is the pelvic bone, which does tie back to Janus, and it ties back to Ganesha. So that would be kind of where I could just leave you with some breadcrumbs, and then you could go do more research. But Ophiuchus as this 13th zodiac concept, I do believe in the 13s, because if you just look at our calendrical system, it would operate on 13 months, 13 moons, 13 moon cycles. So I do see the reasoning why they would hide that, and but I'm not here to say that, you know, it's some truth of truths and it must be, and those dates are specifically sensible for Ophiuchus zodiac. I just think you need to get into the anatomy portion of it, and then in the mythology, take those breadcrumbs that I left you with, and I think you're going to have a ton of fun with your research. And much love. I appreciate you. I got a super chat from Vivek. I appreciate you. You said, where can we learn more about flat Earth? Ooh. So I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a proponent for this belief system, but what I will say is I do not believe that the realm that we call Earth is a ball spinning in outer space at 1,000 miles per hour with curved water. I do not believe that. And what I do resonate with highly is that our Earth that we're told is Earth is actually the only physical realm. And that is the mirror reflection of what this realm is what we call the moon. And this moon has a relationship with Earth solely because it is the mirror of Earth. It is a plasma phenomenon. I'm talking about the moon right now. The moon is a plasma phenomenon. And it's much closer than we've been told. The same thing with the sun. And this relationship that the sun and the moon have with Gaia, with Mother Nature, with Earth, with Terra, whatever you want to call it, is like a battery where you have an anode, a cathode, and an electrolyte. And the electrolyte would be the water, and the water of our surface is pretty obvious. But then there's another waters, which is outside of the firmament. This is why when you point a telescope, a high-powered telescope, at these so-called planets, you're going to see that none of them are stable. None of them are rocks. None of them are balls of gas either. They are all dancing luminaries. They're all moving quite chaotically. And I believe that that's a game changer for anyone, just purely through observance. And anyone could go right now and have an extended lens, a high-powered telescope that could zoom far enough, and you could see this for yourself. You could point it at what they call Jupiter or Mars or any of this, and you're going to see that it's just a ball of light that's flickering. It's moving chaotically, and it's beautiful, actually. It's way more beautiful than the pictures that NASA shows us. And we're well aware that everything that NASA shows you is a composite image, so it's a stitched together image. But you see how I'm still not calling myself a flat earther, because it's under the same guise as like calling yourself an atheist or calling yourself a vegan or calling yourself a Buddhist. It's like these titles don't serve me. I'm a free man. I just know what I've observed, and I'm keeping my mind open to it all. And I understand that it is whatever the imagination of the collective believes it is. So the only time I could explore my truths is if I surround myself by my people, which is you guys, and I could explore that with you all. And I'm not here to tell you what's right and wrong, and I'm not here to tell you that what you believe is wrong, that's not my game. I could care less. I have shit to take care of. I have worlds to change. I'm not going to waste my energy in debate. But I'm well aware that if I was to go out talking to people about what I just said moments ago, they're going to look at me like I'm speaking fucking Cantonese. So also shout out to any of my people from China that are in the wolf pack. But you understand where I'm going with this? So anyways, I have a super chat of when a relationship ends. Oh man, I missed that. I need to go back. This is moving too fast. Boom. Let me pull this up. Actually, no. I have this up right now. I do believe I didn't answer that last question fully. Where would I go to learn about Flat Earth? Well, I don't believe in Flat Earth necessarily. I would go to a channel called Vibes of Cosmos and hang out there for a while. Go back to the oldest videos and study that. Okay, so Vibes of Cosmos, I believe that is one of the most groundbreaking YouTube channels when it comes to talking about this from a way that's just undeniable. Like the scientism, the ones that are brainwashed by scientism, which is the modern day religion, they're able to even watch this and have their minds blown. So enjoy that channel. Go into it with an open mind. But I'll say this, and I want to be very direct with everyone. Even by becoming more aware to the work of Vibes of Cosmos and the work of God Gave Lamst and some of the other people that have been, pivotal in examining alternative ideas to what this realm is, I don't really think it gets much done for the individual. Like whether this earth is shaped like a volleyball or a fucking potato, like it doesn't actually change much of anything. Okay? You need to start realizing that everything in the cosmos and everything that is in these luminaries and the mythology actually come back to the human body and the mind of man. And to me, that was what changed the game. And that's what I bring to the table in my art and what I can't wait to share with my decoding mastermind, because I believe that coming at it from that angle will have an immense amount of utility for those that are interested in the esoterica. And then you could walk away from it with more. And like you could actually apply it. I feel like there's almost zero application to what we believe is the shape of the earth. Like it doesn't do much. What it does tend to do is create a fucking argument between people. It's like the Democrat Republican thing or the left and right, the Yankees Mets. That's flat earth versus ball earth. It's a trap. Even the term flat earth was created by the Pentagon. Okay, so again, I don't call myself a flat earther, and I shared with this channel where I got a lot of this, a lot of all of this from as confirmations, and it's as simple as the tombstone of Wernher von Braun, where he literally, nothing is written on his tombstone, nothing except a Bible verse. I believe it's Psalm 19:1, and it says that the the firmament showeth God's handiwork. And it literally alludes to the firmament as being what we call heaven. Or when you go to the opening of the Bible into Genesis, I believe it's Genesis 6, 7, 8, probably. It's going to talk about what the firmament is, separating the waters above from the waters below. And that's where I got my name from. So even though that could all be perceived quickly as this team flat earth shit, I don't play for that. I don't play for any team. Like I'm here doing my own thing. So anyways, have fun with that. I gave you enough resources, gave you some background information. I believe we had 800 people in here for a moment. So shout out to all of y'all hanging out with us today. I'm just keeping this super chat up right now because I want to get to it. And then I lost it in my chat that I had over here on my other screen. So Brindis, I believe you're from Iceland. So shout out to Iceland. That's my favorite country to visit. I love Iceland. So appreciate you. And I also am very grateful for your super chat. That means a lot. You said much love to you. Much love back. And you said when a relationship ends, one was mentally abusing the other for years. The abuser doesn't acknowledge the abuse and still treats the one who gave them unconditional love badly. How can one heal from this? Well, a big thing is that the abuse someone gives you is just a pattern of programming of the abuse that they received. So first you start off with compassion. You realize that they're abusive because they've been abused. And of course they're not going to acknowledge this because it's a program. The way it's programmed in is to seriously compartmentalize. And in that compartmentalization process, it never wants to take personal, responsibility. This is just the process. As the ego gets so damaged, it actually gets so severed from intuition that it has no ability to see with clarity. This is why you will never hear me demonizing the ego. because I realized that there's a divine aspect to ego, and that once it is healed, it actually sets you free from a lot of these traps. And this is one of the main traps that you're showcasing right here with this statement and the question you ask. You also state that the abuser doesn't acknowledge the abuse and still treats the one who gave them unconditional love badly. So the thing is that somebody who wants to abuse other people is suffering from connecting with the concept you believe is love. And everyone has their own individual definition for love. It's the same thing with truth. Everybody has a different definition for what truth is. And anyone who wants to debate that there's such thing as universal truth, I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's called perspective. If you went into some tribal village and, somewhere in the middle of Africa, they're going to have a completely different reality tunnel and vantage point that they sit at for their perspective of what truth is, comparatively to somebody that was born in New York City, Manhattan. It's just a totally different reality. You're never going to be able to agree. So when we're working with somebody who has this kind of patterning, this program where they want to abuse others, well, first of all, they need to be shown a form of love that seats them back in this moment where they could become self-aware. Please listen to what I just said. If you need to rewind this later, clip that out, please do. You can't show people love in the form that you believe love is. A master knows that you must show people love in a way that taps into them, in a way that touches them at a level that they've never felt before, because they haven't. This is part of the mastery of working with others' energy. This is why I said before, I could talk to like a huge prison guard, like fucking bodybuilder, tough guy man, and I could speak with him in a way that softens him up to a place where he'd be willing to be vulnerable with me. So here's the thing, Brindis. You need to figure out a way to tap into people's access to vulnerability. And you know how you do this? By you being vulnerable. Here's the words of wisdom, and then we'll move on. Stop showing people love. Start showing them vulnerability. And I appreciate you. Lots of love. The Architect, I appreciate you for being a YouTube member. That really means a lot to me. Also, tomorrow I do have a new podcast coming out. It's going to be Red Pill Podcast. What are we on? 128, I believe. So yeah, we're going to be doing the Red Pill Podcast follow-up to the last one I released, which was a full decode on that Green Day song, Wake Me Up When September Ends, which talked about water rituals. This is amazing. That was such a dope decode, and I had a lot of fun with it. And those last two decodes that I have put together really examine a lot and prepare us for how the rest of this month can go. And this month is still fresh. We haven't even made it to Rosh Hashanah yet. So this will be the Red Pill Podcast before Rosh Hashanah. So it's going to be super powerful, very, very important information, and I'm excited to get into it. And I appreciate anyone's support for joining over on the Patreon. And I do have something special coming in the next week as well. So I will be sharing the update on that tomorrow in the new Red Pill Podcast. Let's get back to this chat. CMGZ, I appreciate you. Peter McCardle says, I need my Spotify. Well, totally. I have Spotify too. Peter, the thing that I was sharing before was just to take an inventory on excessive liabilities. And if you having access to music is considered an investment, then that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to say that having access to music or particularly a Spotify premium account is a bad thing. That's never what any of this is about. And as a musician myself, I completely understand. I get a lot of just good prana, and I'm able to, access my own prana from just listening to music. It's my passion. It's the thing that matters most to me. So I'm not trying to, again, when we talk about certain concepts like this, it's just to explore where we're putting our investments into liabilities or something that could bring a return on investment. I think that's it. And it's all about how you maneuver through it all. But what I did state earlier, I believe, could be a wake-up call for a lot of people, because we do know people that have 15 different subscription programs going simultaneously, and they don't even use half of them. And then they're burning away like $100, $120 a month. And think about where that money could be going. Like, wow, that could really be going into some serious educational materials. And they're just, it's slipping through their hand every month like sand. So, I mean, for me, I only have a couple of these services. But what I'll tell you is that I am more keen to invest in people. I'm more keen to invest directly in people than I am to invest in a company that plays as a middleman for something else. Like I like investing directly in art. So that's what's dope about like the Patreon kind of setup, is it only takes a small fee comparatively to what the creator gets. And I think that that's really, really a nice opportunity for people such as myself that are doing what we could do to spread our art and spread our truth. And again, I'm extremely grateful for all the support. So that's part of the purpose why having the Mastermind community membership only being $10 a month, or it gets reduced down by 15% for an annual membership. Like when you add that all up, that's actually incredibly cheap from a yearly perspective for receiving a new podcast every week, having access to our Discord community, or if you wanted to get one of my courses, you get 20% off. So even just that, if somebody was interested in getting one of my courses and they signed up for the Patreon, they would be saving like 3 to 4 months total altogether by getting an annual membership in a course. But there's people out there that are wasting, hundreds of dollars every month on just all of these little subscription platforms that they can't even keep track of. And they have no idea, like, even where this money is going. They've even started to make apps now where you can hook up all of your credit cards to that app and it'll tell you where your money's going into these subscription programs. And I was like, holy shit, I never even thought that a company would emerge from people's lack of organization. You know what I'm saying? But there it is. Some companies saw an opportunity in it because they realized how people behave. When you allow all of this access to all of this cheap services and people just compound it and they sign up for all of these things, somebody was talking about the word crypt in the word crypto. What we really need to look at with this that could be helpful for the people that are making these statements is that this goes back to krypton. So you go to your periodic table and you're going to see over here the 36th element, which is really key that it's 36. And you can see where this name comes from. It comes from the word hidden in Greek, kryptos. So yeah, I get it. People are talking about the crypt and talking about like, of course it has that Saturnian theme, but look at how krypton has this 36. And when we look at the numerology of it all, 3-6, you say the word, you say out the number. So instead of saying 36, you say 3 6s. So that becomes 666. And something that's pretty fascinating that a member in our community brought to my attention. Now, I'm sorry that I can't give you credit because I get hundreds of comments every day and I just forgot. But if you're listening right now, shout out to you. You know who you are. But if you added up 1 to 36 with each individual number heading to 36, so like it would be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and you keep going all the way to 36, that would add up to 666. And that fucking blew my mind. I was like, wow, I never thought of that. Because we've always talked about it in this perspective that 3-6 is 3 6s, which is 666. And this is tied back to carbon, which is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. This is just the physical realm we occupy. But what's interesting about Krypton, we've heard of kryptonite, Superman, and all of that stuff. being one of the noble gases. And this is also tied directly to the moon, Krypton, as one of the layers of gas in our inner Earth's atmosphere. Fascinating stuff. So that's when we were talking a little bit earlier about this plasma phenomenon and like the illusion of what this moon looks like when we're observing it from Earth here. So anyways, yeah, Krypton, it comes from kryptos, which means hidden. Cryptography, it's a way of kind of embedding secrets into your code, right? So I'm not trying to, slap anyone down from this belief that it's tied back to the crypt, but there's just that other way of looking at it that I shared a moment ago that could be helpful. Excuse me. I really need to take a sip of water. All right. Kevin, I appreciate your super chat, brother. You said OG Wolf sending you abundance of future prosperity. What you're doing here is monumental. Hope someday we cross paths. Well, we have crossed paths. We have. We're here. We're aligned. And that's really what matters most. And I appreciate you. I'm sending you lots of love. Your family, lots of love. I know other members of your family are supporters of my work, and that really means the world to me. It's such a beautiful thing. So I just want you to know that I appreciate you. And hope you're having a beautiful weekend, brother. Hope you and your family are doing amazing. Gareth asks, how come you're not meeting up with Jason and Logan? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by that. Dustin says, completely agree about the current system. With it or government people would be like monkeys throwing shit at each other. Yeah, this is something that I said, Dustin, a very long time ago. I'm sure you were probably tuned in on that live stream where I told people like, hey man, like this is another reason why I'm not pro this idea that everyone just becomes millionaires overnight. Like that was what that came from, Dustin. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the conversation we had. We were dissecting this idea of becoming overnight crypto millionaires and how I was saying that that would be a very unsafe thing to happen. A lot of people think that that would be a good thing, but what are they going to do? What a lot of small-minded, poor-minded people do, which is they're going to go flood all of this liquidity, all of these fiat dollars they have into liabilities, and it's going to make the market like even more distorted and diseased than it already is. You're going to take a fat, bloated, diseased pig and you're going to just inflate it even more. These people are going to burn out all of their money on liabilities. They're going to ruin their lives. Like you don't get happiness by being rich. You can create even more depression than you already had, because all it does, and you've heard this many times, it increases the volume knob on the current state of being you're already at. So if you're depressed and you get millions of dollars, you're going to be momentarily happy, but then you're just going to become a more amplified depressed person. You're never going to change the game with your money. You're just not. And we see quite the opposite. We see the highest cases of depression in people who have jobs where they're making more money in their salary. This is obviously the case for suicide in these higher earning professions. Anyone can look this up, Now, I'm not saying to not go for abundance and to seek, more resources. That's what I'm telling you. Is work on your soul first, because when you become a trillionaire at the soul level, at the spirit level, then you could be working with a couple $1,000 and you could convert that into incredible amounts of wealth, not just for you, but for your people. See, the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire, we're going to get this straight. A millionaire does things for themselves. A billionaire does things for their people. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, Elon's a billionaire and Bezos is we're not going there right now. You know what I mean. Think. When people run into $1 million, they start blowing it on liabilities. When you transcend that and you become a billy, you're not thinking about you're thinking about generational shit. It's a whole different game. Whole different mindset. And I study this all the time. Like I spend a lot of my time studying into the minds of the wealthy. And they actually operate in the shadows, and they flex on people who are flashy millionaires all the time. Because that flashy behavior, you only really see it in the millionaire category. And that's a thing that I know a lot of you are already aware of. But that's a thing that I believe in. Personally, I'll bring this back to my system of, where I operate from. My essence is that wealth should be sought after and maintained for something that is bigger than you. But I don't believe you can get there until you become wealthy in spirit. You need to have a different type of wealth that you already harness. And if you can't get there, then it's not going to show up in fiat. And if it does show up in the bank account, you're probably going to squander it. You're probably going to mistreat it. And that's what I said probably a year or two ago, where I said, if, for instance, just theorize that we had this flip of the switch moment or whatever for the XRP army, and then they all became millionaires overnight, it's going to be like monkeys throwing shit at each other. Like, seriously. Like, I know exactly what it's going to create. Very few of them are going to be able to utilize this money for something that's going to make them and their families and their people prosper. Because they're not focused on prosperity. They're focused on a quick win and a quick high. They're like drug addicts. And what happens when you're only treating money like it could solve happiness is it literally is like a drug. What happens is when you get the first injection, you're like, that was cool. Then the next week, you need to have double the dose. Then 2 weeks later, you need to have triple, then quadruple. Then the next thing you know, you're just fucking injecting all day just to feel like alive. And it's really not even you're alive. It's that you're in a perpetual state of numbness. And that's what wealth is for most. So we need to become humble and we need to become wealthy in spirit. And then everything else takes care of itself. Then you're not sitting around all day waiting for the day that never comes. You're never waiting for this day that the market's going to go into a bull run or whatever the fuck. Because you're taking action right now. And you can see that. And this comes full circle to everything that I started off this conversation with today. Is that money is just thoughts. That's all. Wealth is just mindset. Like most things. So when you're aware that the mind is all, and that you have access to this gnosis, and very few people do, this is actually the easiest time to take advantage of what I'm exposing right now. This is the easiest time to be excellent because the majority is mediocre. Like, we're not judging here, we're just speaking facts. Like, this is the way it is. It's a lot easier to shine when everyone else is in the darkness. So be the light that shines through the darkness, and don't worry about your fucking bank account. Like, there's a much more important bank account that exists, and you need to realize that. And when you make that realization and you start operating from that realization, your life will change. And the way you treat other people will change. You know how many people that are not aware of that, then they get money and then they start mistreating everyone in their lives. That's another side conversation to have. So you see, like, we could examine this from many different territories, and it all keeps adding up to a similar thing, is that the money only solves money problems. Just looking through some of these questions. Coin Queen, I appreciate that. Send you love. I'm just looking through some of this chat right now. We go. I appreciate you. Sending you lots of love over to Egypt. Somebody said I thought Jordan was Vietnamese. I'm definitely not. But shout out to all my Vietnamese wolves out there. I appreciate y'all. I'm just kind of at the point now where I'm looking for some questions, some things going on in the chat. Been talking for a while now. Just trying to get back on the rails here. Nick Cook said, I'm going to believe Wiki and NASA and going to go get 5 boosters for safe measure. That's funny. Craig Thorne, I appreciate you, brother. I hope you're doing well. Bella Love, I appreciate you. Got about 650 people with us. So great to have you all here. Crypto Babe, I appreciate you. Hope you're having a beautiful weekend so far. Yeah, that decode that we did on, I believe it was 2 Red Pill podcasts ago about Trump and everything tied back to Georgia. That was a mind-blowing decode, especially when we start getting into that part with that song Georgia on My Mind, which was kind of popularized by Ray Charles, even though it's not an original of his. But it was just wild to look into that code and how that came up at the very end of the presentation that I was working on, completely by mistake. And this is a thing that I utilize. So any decoders that are listening to this right now, when you're decoding, clearly it's typical for us to take note of the keywords, right? You want to get as many keywords as you can. So then after you get that list of keywords, whether you're going to go break down the etymology or whether you're going to type it into a Gematria calculator or whatever you want to do, that's a basic part of the process, right? It's like when you are hungry, you think of the meal you want to eat. And then the first thing you think of to create this meal is you need your ingredients, right? And then you think about when you get those ingredients, how you're going to prepare them. It's very similar. Then what happens later is you have your base recipe, and then you start to put flair on it, your own individual preferences. And one of the things that I like to do is I just go super within and I think of like, what is the most exoteric thing I could think about tied back to these keywords? So I was seeing this repeatable pattern with Georgia. This is just the example with what happened with Trump and everything tied to Georgia. And I was bringing up the Georgia Guidestones and how that was ritualized in the Jubilee year. In the Shemitah, the year of the Platinum Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth, and how that all played a big role in all of this, because we know we were in a bull run that ended in a big correction right there to the end of the Shemitah. Now being in Jubilee and about at the 1 year anniversary, actually, I think it was as of yesterday would be the 1 year anniversary since the Queen died. Let me just double check that. Yep, as of yesterday, it's been one official year. And she died at 96. Mirror of the number 96 is 69. We know that Bitcoin's all-time high is 69. We know on the 69th day of this year, Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate, failed. There's these patterns, these numbers. And I think I had one other thing that I shared, which had to do with Biden's next birthday. And it's tied to 69 days before his next birthday, which is this week. Again, it's just fun because 69 days is 9 weeks and 6 days. Again, the mirror from his 81st birthday. And, just playing around with the numbers, I had a lot of fun with that. But part of my methodology was like, okay, I keep saying Georgia over and over and over and over again. But we all know that song, Georgia on My Mind. And that led me down a wild rabbit hole that, then we'll go to that song, Georgia on My Mind, and you're going to look at the dates and look at when it came out. From Hoagie Carmichael. So we have it right there in 1930. You guys remember that was after the start of the Great Depression. Again, right there on a Shemitah year. Very, very powerful stuff. And into the month of December, right there around Saturnalia was, I guess, when it got its publishing rights. But then we go down here to the actual recording of the song and look at the date. It's September 15th. That is the first day of Rosh Hashanah. And then we were exposing all these 155s and 24s. Mind-blowing. Like, I think it was called... let me see where that exact code came from. I probably shouldn't get into this right now because we've been getting shit for talking about what I just typed. You guys know the story. So that's another thing. If you've missed some of my work recently and you want to stay up to date on what's going on here, we did get one of these. So just go over to my website, WatersAbove.com. And when you get over there, that's not my website. When you get over to WatersAbove.com, just go scroll to the bottom to where it says subscribe, enter your email address, and join the free email list. It's free. I don't ask you for any private information. It's just a basic email and whatever password that you want to create. I don't ask for your name, no other personal details, and I do not spam my email list. So that's just about the decode on Trump and getting arrested in Fulton County, Georgia. And this was like what sealed the deal on the whole decode, and it made me go, holy shit. This is unbelievable, the dates that we have here. And then you go to the... Ray Charles rendition, and look at that. It's released in September, 30 years to the month of when this originally came out. And then one other key note to make that I think is super important that everyone needs to take note of is this find right here. The fact that this December 22nd, let's go to Saturnalia really quickly. I don't want to jump around too much, but you just get into the mind here, like the method to my madness. Saturnalia is between the 17th through the 23rd. This is the actual reason why we celebrate so-called Christmas around this time. It has nothing to do with Jesus. It has nothing to do with Christ. It has nothing to do with any of that. This is it. Okay? It's a festival, a role reversal. Essentially, the slaves now get to sit at the dining table and they become freedmen for a couple of days. It's like the idea behind the purge. Okay, so that Saturnalia, again going back to Saturn or Chronos, and this is the 17th through the 23rd. So this Georgia on My Mind release is right there on the day before the 3 shortest days of the year. This again comes back to the 3 days of darkness. These 3 days are very powerful. They're utilized by the occult, by witches and wizards to do rituals. And this Georgia on My Mind thing is fascinating because you guys know Georgia sits at the 33rd parallel. I know I could go like into so many areas here, but we're real decoders, man. Like this is just where it's at. Like we need to kind of explore it all. And a lot of this, none of this is scripted, what we're getting into right now. It's just off the dome. And that's what made me pretty mind blown about this particular find because of this one nuance of Saturnalia and the fact that by December 22nd of this year, it will be the 93rd year since this track came out. And where do we get that number 93? Right there in just basic English ordinal, Saturn, 93. Fucking mind-blowing, okay? Even we got that 69996 connection back to Saturn as well. And what is a Shemitah year? It's the year of Saturn. Now, I think that's pretty incredible. Let's look at the date numerology of the 22nd. I didn't want to get too into the decode of, oh shit, it's 4 weeks and 4 days. Oh, okay, so look at that. 4 weeks, 4 days, and this Georgia on My Mind adopted 44 years after. That 44 code was something I've also spoken about a little bit in my last decode that I released. That's why it's fresh on my mind. I talked about the 444 and the connection to Jay-Z and his last album that he put out. Wow. Also, Biden's birthday being the 41 days left in the year, this one being a 14 standard date numerology and a 77 double digit. 7 plus 7 is 14. That's 2 sevens. So this nuance of this being the 93rd year anniversary of this track, Georgia on My Mind, right there into the day before the last day of Saturnalia being over, I believe has a huge importance because right here we will be effectively out of Jubilee. We'll be out of Jubilee technically by the 18th. Give it the 17th, 18th. Oh, that's beautiful. That is fucking amazing. Look at that. So we have the 17th of... I shouldn't even be doing this right now. This is insane. We're like freestyling a decode. So we're 96 days apart from this day. And I was just talking about the power of that number 96 and 69. The queen died at 96. So look at the double digit date numerology of this day of September 17th, 69. And it's connected 96 days to this exact connection that I was just telling you before about Georgia. So is Georgia getting its first ritual with the Trump thing, and then that will create a ripple effect outwardly? Yeah, well, we got to think about that, right? Because what's in Georgia? You guys know about this organization, okay? I can't say it, but you know. What's the next psyop that's most likely to happen on the world stage? What's the big ritual that's about to happen? I believe it's going to be air ritual. It's probably going to be like a staged alien invasion. And what better place for it to happen than like a place like DC or New York? Perfect pre-election year ritual. I don't know if it'll happen that fast though. I really don't. Because we're talking super soon. And if they're gonna ritualize, it has to be soon. It has to be between next week and I want to say like the first week in November. More likely the solar eclipse that's going to be happening on the 14th of October. That would be a more sensible time frame. So yeah, that was just a taste of some of the stuff that we got into in that decode with Trump over on Patreon. And it was part 1 to the second decode that I just released last week. This week, I don't know if I'm going to be getting into any decodes like that just because we have a lot to chew on from the prior couple weeks and the market's been sort of sideways. So with the new Red Pill podcast, it's going to be more about just kind of philosophy, I think, and discussing I think it would be important for us to just discuss all of the different things that could go down and then what we could do to respond to them. But needless to say, we've been prepared for this for so long now. I mean, I've been talking about this Jubilee, Shemitah, Rosh Hashanah thing forever, like since 6 months deep into my channel. And I gave emphasis to September of 2023, probably almost over a year and a half ago. It's when I really started looking deep into it. So here we are, man. It's beautiful that we're all here together, sharing this, time space. It's absolutely wild to be in this community with what's going on. So I'm grateful for all of y'all. Sarah Lynn, I got a super chat. You said, Jordan, advice for a woman who's being threatened by her partner that he will leave her and the kids if she does certain things without him, like taking a couple day trip alone. How can these people dance together again? Okay, let me reread this. This is a lot going on. You said advice for a woman who's being threatened by her partner that he will leave her and the kids if she does certain things without him. Okay, so the first thing is if anyone is threatening anyone, then that there's no love there. So what the fuck are we sticking around for? This is like, I know this is going to get sweaty in here, but we need to talk, all right? I think that women need to figure out their earning potential, not just their potential in the dating marketplace. So we can go into this in many different directions, but I think that this is a good, solid example of when a woman who may be lacking in her earning potential would be feeling the heat of this moment. She's going to start to struggle because why? Clearly there's no love here if there's threats. So what is she most likely hanging on to? Now, Sarah, I don't know how personal this gets. I don't know if this is an asking for a friend thing, if this is your family that you're talking about, or if this is you. I don't know, and you also don't need to tell me. But I respect and I love you. You've been following my art for a long time now, and I know you know me. I'm direct. I'm not hiding or holding back shit here. So we need to talk about this. Women need to conquer their earning potential so that when they do decide to partner up with men, and I know you're picking what's best for you in the gene pool most of the time, you're going to pick the man that provides you perhaps with more opportunities or allows you the landscape to explore more opportunity. And this is all part of the selection process. Women are the selectors, right? Now, we are in a world right now where we need to be very, very introspective, and we need to ask ourselves that if we're being threatened, is there any love here in the first place? And if there is not, then what are we even maintaining this relationship for? Is it for the illusion? Is it because we like the comfort of having somebody? Is it because we like having somebody to sleep with? Like, what is it? Because I'll be straight up, if I was with somebody and they were threatening me in any capacity, they wouldn't see me again. I love myself. I'm not broken. Like, broken people feel the need to go through the trenches with somebody when they don't actually even need to. It's like you're putting yourself into a coffin and burying yourself underground by sticking around with somebody who would actually rather see you inside of a coffin buried under the fucking ground. So I know this is real talk right now, and it needs to be shared in this way, because if we were to cut around it, and there is just no room for this fluff. The world needs to realize that the most powerful currency, the most beautiful and important currency of all, is relationships. Meaning that if you're in a toxic relationship, that is the thing that can distort and destroy your reality the most. Obviously, the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. So there's something lacking here on that level that's allowing this person to maintain something with somebody else that doesn't actually love them. Now, if they're worried about breaking up with them or they're worried about the loss, then I would assume very quickly, and yes, this is an assumption, but I'm probably right, is that there's something here going on with money. And a lot of the people in this world stick together or even design relationships based on earning potential. That's just money makes the world go round, right? It's sad, but it's true. So I'm not telling women to go be a boss bitch. That's not the thing. But I'm just saying correct your earning potential, because then that means when a man drops the ball, you don't need to bear the brunt of that ball being dropped. You could take care of your own ass. And then especially if there's kids involved, you got to do what you got to do for your children. And women are always more honorable in this situation. That's another sad thing to say. But women are extremely honorable when it comes to their kids. Men are not nearly as honorable. They'll protect to a capacity, but they still are a little bit more self-centered, as opposed to a woman looks at a child as like an extension of themselves on a very deep level. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think that is one of the most beautiful aspects of a woman, is her ability to tap in that way. So men are becoming like feminine in a lot of ways. And I'm not pushing this idea that women should become masculine by like caring about money more and seeking money more, but like just consider having more balance in your earning potential, especially if you're somebody that feels the need to be in an active relationship, and especially if you're somebody that's currently in a relationship that has some of these toxic elements to it, like we're exploring right now. So with that assumption out of the way, let me revisit this question, because this is a very generous super chat, Sarah. So I'll try to add some little nuances before I move on. You said, advice for a woman who's being threatened by her partner that he will leave her and the kids if she doesn't do certain things, if she does certain things without him. So that's a sign of jealousy. A sign of jealousy is a sign of lack of self-worth and self-esteem. That needs to be corrected on his end. Again, that's a very unattractive thing for a woman. So she should naturally be feeling unsafe by that energy. Women desire safety, but they desire confidence in the man playing the captain role, and that captain knowing where the fuck he's steering the ship. I kind of feel like there should be an element of like relationship. Oh, that's the new project. Okay, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. That's a 2024 thing, because there's so much to say on this. And I believe I could be a valuable asset in this regard. One of the things that's helped a lot of people tap in and resonate with what we're doing here is the times we talk about relationship dynamic and the polarities in a way that's not based in this common, like spiritually glazed over version that we're seeing today, which is oddly corrupted and, has very little utility most of the time. Not throwing any shade, but it's just got to see through it sometimes. But you gave an example. You said like taking a couple day trip alone. I don't know what that means. Taking a couple day trip alone. How could it be a couple day trip if they're alone? I don't get that. Maybe it's just the way you wrote the sentence. You said, how could these people dance together again? Well, that's the thing. Okay, this is the thing. It sounds like he has trauma of insecurity and confidence. And the only way to really, and let's practice what I shared earlier when I think it was Brindis that I was talking to. I said to her, stop trying to show people love and learn how to show them vulnerability. So if you've realized where somebody has pain, where somebody suffers, and you know that this is the way they suffer because that's the way they treat you, that's their coping mechanism, well, you need to show them vulnerability on your half that would resonate with the thing that they're clearly hurt by as well, the thing that they're traumatized by. So if there's a way for this woman to be vulnerable in that sense, where she could admit her insecurities and her, where she's at with her confidence, but own it, like literally own it, this would crack his shell and make him now able to articulate and be vulnerable about where he's at with his shit. And then now you could both lay your shit on the table and fucking hash it out. But until you're going to crack, each other's shells and let that release, it's all just going to be compounded resentment. That's all it's going to be. And that compounded resentment is fucking lethal. That's like a rattlesnake that slithers through your house all the time. I forgot who said this, but it's probably like even somebody quite famous. They said that like there's no more harmful prison than a home with a so-called loved one that you don't even want to go home to see. That kind of idea. That's not my words, but so yes, Sarah, I would say that would be the methodology there. The woman needs to showcase vulnerability of where she's at with herself, and also make sure that whenever she's taking any actions, that it doesn't feel like she's doing it out of spite or to get away from him or any of that energy, because that's the way a man thinks. And I could tell you, because I am one. Men are always going to think that. I mean, that form of jealousy is an interesting technology, but that's the natural kind of way of perceiving in his position. Like, based on his posture, he's in a losing posture. So when a man feels like he's in a losing posture, he's going to start to cave in and like act fucking weird. And this is clearly a way he's showcasing his lack of confidence. And it's going to take the woman on this one, sadly. And that's only because it sounds like the woman wants to fix the problem. What I really think is going on here that could be the most helpful is this woman needs to, like, let's go back to what I said earlier, that she needs to take an inventory of what's really even good about this relationship. I am never the guy that tells people to break up with people. I think that's not the way. Because I believe we're coded into every relationship we have to help us grow. It's to help us mine more consciousness from the ether. They're all opportunities, everyone. Even somebody that you pass by on the streets. They're all opportunities for your own expansion. But these deep, long-term sexual relationships where there's kids involved and assets shared and bank accounts and this, that, and the third, people start sticking around for all the wrong reasons. And then they never go down memory lane to the time where like, this is clearly lots of toxicity. And the only way for me to detox this would be by exercising the word no. That's it. Stop being a yes man. Start saying no, and you'll see people's true colors. You'll see people's true weaknesses also. Set boundaries. And women, be cautious about the boundaries you set. That's all I'll say. But be aware that we can all do this. A lot of what I said today could actually be extremely helpful for men who are tuning into this. And perhaps they're going through that jealousy or they're going through that, some of those feelings. Either way, it has utility. I appreciate you, Sarah. I'm sending you lots of love. I hope you're having a beautiful rest of your Saturn day. Also, shout out to the 700 wolves that are hanging out with us right now. It's beautiful. Somebody said, would you check out the Veracity chart, VRA? I've seen, so Kevin, I go over crypto and altcoins typically in my Red Pill podcast every Sunday, and I have gone over Veracity several times. So if you ever signed up to the Patreon membership, there's a search function where you could be able to find all the podcasts where I've gone over particular coins. And because now we're at over 120 podcasts, I've gone over most projects, even several times. But I don't use these live streams to do coin reviews or any of that stuff because it would just get off the rails, and that's not the point of this. But I appreciate your support. Yo, I love y'all, man. This has been a great past couple weeks, not only in the Red Pill podcast, but over here on these live streams. Past 2 weeks have been beautiful. Rajin, I hope I said your name right, which is a beautiful name. I hope you're still hanging out with us too. You said it seems as though you are a full believer in the social credit score. You're saying someone can't handle the money until they are wealthy in spirit. That is a social credit score. I don't know how you can turn it that way. So, Rajin, a social credit score is based on your behaviors. It's like if you don't throw out your trash when it's trash day, or when you put the trash in the recycling and you put the recycling in like the glass container, or when you cross the street without going over the crosswalk, or when you run a red light. That is what social credit score is. So, Regine, when we talk about the idea of being wealthy in spirit, we're talking about having an abundant language that's internal, having an abundance conversation as the internal dialogue or the observer of observers, meaning that when I say things like I can't do something or I will maybe be able to, we start to correct our language, and that starts with the way we speak. It also is the way we think internally. So in my mind, there's nothing that I can't do. There's nothing that I will not be able to do. There's nothing that may be. We don't use those words. I don't know how that has anything to do with a social credit score. So when I say things like, if somebody says, "Are you a millionaire?" I'll reply back saying, "No, I'm a trillionaire." And that makes them like confused. The same thing with age, the same thing with whatever. Because humans want to boil you down to something in the material and some sort of job you hold or whatever, age, gender, this, that, and the third. It's all identity consciousness. See, identity consciousness is what's tied onto a social credit score. Spirit is the opposite. Spirit has nothing to do with the identity consciousness. That's why it's not identity. So there's a balance point here that kind of keeps this holy trinity. And it's great to have you here with us. And I hope that response has brought you some clarity. And also, as for this idea that I'm a full believer in the social credit score, see, the thing is we already do kind of have a social credit score. We have a credit score, and that determines your interest rate on things you want to get lending opportunity for. So if you wanted to get a mortgage, you're clearly going to be fucked over with your interest rate if you have a rock bottom credit score in most cases. The same thing goes with any other form of lending. Or if you wanted to get into the game of credit cards and cashback rewards because you want to have banks pay you instead of the other way around, or if you even want to have an opportunity to some lucrative banks, they're going to say no to you based on your current credit score. So we already do kind of have that system, and the United States sort of invented it. So I'm not sure where you're necessarily at with your financial education or with your education on the matter of this or the nuances, but this is what I do as a living from a very esoteric perspective, and I see it in its exoteric form and the monster it's become. So although we've spoken the way we've been speaking throughout the length of this podcast on some of these ideas, we are going to holistically kind of, float down those rivers because we need to see it from all angles. And then eventually we'll rise above it and look at it from its bird's eye view, and we'll get to see how there is components of this draconian system that's already laid out in the foundation of what we do here in the so-called free democratic world. But as for me being a believer in the social credit score system, I'll clear the air on this. I don't believe in anything except myself. And by the extension of belief in myself, it allows me the strength to resonate outside of myself. Now, I'm not blind to the inevitability of what's to come. I think that there's enough psyops now to prove that we're quite confused. Some people believe in Nasara Jasara and some sort of debt forgiveness concept. And I've told those people, what that will really be is something called the World Debt Reset Program. I probably shouldn't even be talking about this right now. But go study it, what I just said. And you'll see that there's a cost to your debt being forgiven. And everything about Nasara Jasara is complete bullshit. So we need to be open to the idea of the inevitable, and the inevitable comes through the comfort of consciousness of the masses, of the majority. And every single decade, we're going to have truth and people who are so-called truthers who are anti some sort of a new movement that's coming in, and you will be slowly brought into that new system, regardless of your opinion. This happened with QR codes, right? We thought QR codes were going to be this like mark of the beast shit, right? People were overly conspiring and they were giving it so much prana. But where did they introduce the QR code naturally in the most common setting? Where did they do it? They did it in restaurants. They do it in a place where you don't feel harm, where you go, well, I need to eat or I want to eat, so this is it. I'll just take a picture real quick and there you go. Boom, there's my menu. It's harmless. This is the totalitarian tiptoe. I forgot who made up that term. I don't know who to give credit to for that, but we've heard this before. So, but is it really that QR codes are this like draconian New World Order prison system? Fucking no. Like it just is what it is. It's like tap to pay on your phone, or like having a handle be your PayPal name instead of an email address. You know, we could spend our whole day on the belief, but I think it's a waste of time. Oh, okay. So you followed this up. Okay, I see the thing here. You follow this up by saying someone shouldn't be able to judge if I'm ready to handle money. Yeah, you're just taking this personally. And you're not understanding where I'm coming from. It's okay. I believe that what I just shared, though, could be clearing the air on some things, providing clarity. And I love you. I hope you're having an amazing day. And we're all about collaboration here. You know? Danella Draper, so grateful for you. Somebody asks, Jordan, are you single? Asking for a friend. I get this. No comment. Sunswept, I appreciate you. Sammy G, I appreciate you. Somebody asks, why do you call this wolves? What does the wolf represent? Yeah, so the thing that the wolf comes from a feeling that I've had my whole life. And you guys know this feeling. It's called being the lone wolf. And I always felt kind of a connection there with them. And one other thing about wolves is they trust humans, like to an extent. They could see your aura. They know who's like a problem, and they know somebody that they could come up to and kind of sniff around and feel out their energy. And, then it is what it is. But the point here is that I always felt kind of like a lone wolf in this world. I always felt kind of like whenever I walked in a room, people could sense that I was there. Like they could sense the shift in energy. And then when I would start talking, then that was a wrap. People just knew. So I felt like I'd gone through my whole life where like people knew that I was a fucking alien inside of a human body. And I had to get comfortable with that, because as a conscious being, it's just up to you to get comfortable in what might be uncomfortable naturally, or where people might make you feel uncomfortable or might want to make you feel uncomfortable. And you can't let that happen. You just have to get comfortable sitting in the flames, and learn how to be a chameleon in a room full of vultures, as they say. So for me, I always resonated a lot with the wolf because when it needs to get shit done, it just does it. It's not sitting around and blaming and whatever. Like it just takes care of business. And there's a lot of mythology to the way that the wolf works, whether that this alpha concept or leading the pack and all of this. There's a lot of mythology built around that. And that's not where this came from. It's not based in any of this. It's more in just me seeing that what we're doing here is kind of like a community full of all lone wolves that have been on their own journey in a singular sense, like on their own path, and how we all kind of coordinated and aligned that way. Like we are a pack of lone wolves, if you will. So that's kind of where that all comes from. I really resonate with the wolf. And yeah, so that's kind of like, it was a mistake actually. By mistake, I think it was in one of my first videos, I said waters above wolves. Like totally by mistake. And a lot of people really resonated with it. And it's a term that I used in my personal life all the time. Like I would always just say that I'm the wolf. And it's funny because my name is Jordan. And I've always had that Jordan Wolf connection way before the Wolf of Wall Street movie even came out. And it's funny because like family and friends that I have, they're like, when that movie came out, Wolf of Wall Street, they're like, dude, that's fucking, that's just so funny because I'm nothing like that guy. Like my essence to take care of business and to be accomplished and to not wait around for handouts or to be given anything, like that is a similarity. But this whole like womanizer, fucking materialistic yacht, helicopter, that's nothing. So it's funny. Like that's always been kind of a joke. And that is one of my favorite movies too, but it's not because of Jordan Belfort. It's because of the way that Martin Scorsese put it together. Like all of Marty's films I think are really fascinating. So I like it more from that cinematography angle. And I also think to myself, did that newspaper actually come out where it called Jordan Belfort the Wolf of Wall Street? Because that was where they show you in the movie where he gets that title. It's from like an interview that he does. And then he gets really frustrated about it. And his partner at the time is like, no, all publicity is good publicity, like a typical Trump thing. And I wonder, because that movie is based in truth off of a book that I think that Jordan Belfort wrote when he was in prison. But he said that if they really made the movie like the way that it happened in real life, it would be too disgusting for people. Like it would be way more hardcore. So they dampened it. But I do wonder if there's any like OG pressings of that paper, of that newspaper that came out that called him the Wolf of Wall Street, because that's fucking iconic now. And to clear the air, I did not get that wolf concept from him. It's pretty funny though. Another kind of, another funny thing, and we'll move on to another question, but like, if you think about it, like most of what crypto is in the altcoin department is like fucking pink sheet stocks. Like rewatch the movie Wolf of Wall Street and you'll see what made Jordan Belfort who he is, which is trading these pink sheets, like shit that wasn't even listed on the NASDAQ or anything, like wasn't listed in the S&P. So the commissions were absurd. I think it was like 50% on spread on these. So that's very enticing. When you're selling blue chips on Wall Street, you're only getting like a tiny little kickback. So the name of the game there is volume. Whilst with these pink sheets, you could really take advantage. Michka says, hey Jordan, what is it about Iceland you love so much? Is it the people, the nature, landscape, all of the above? I would love to go. Just curious what you love about it. Oh man. It's hard for me to speak on the people because there's so few of them and they're all very kind. Icelandic people are very, again, if I was to speak on this, it would be counter to what like a real Icelander who was born in that culture and like all of that. They probably have a whole different, So for me, just as a visitor, the people, it's kind of hard to speak on because I don't have a lot of experience with them. It's a very desolate place. Like once you leave Reykjavik, the capital, you're just you in the landscape. So what I really resonated with it most is the land. It just feels like such an amazing energy. The air quality there is incredible. Everywhere you look, there's a waterfall. Black sand beaches, glaciers, icebergs. You can drive around the whole island in like a week. That'd be sort of rushed. But I don't know where to stop saying good things about it. I just love it so much. The only thing I would kind of take note of is it's very expensive. So it's not a place that you want to go for 2 weeks if you're trying to like save some like, you'd want to go to like Poland or Hungary or somewhere else like that. Like, but if you're talking Europe, Iceland will rack up cost because everything needs to be imported essentially. So unless you're there to buy groceries and drive around and stay at, some somewhat affordable places, it's going to cost you a bit. Magali, I appreciate your super chat. You said, glad to catch you on another live question. How does one who experience identity theft deal with it mentally? What is some advice in letting go? Identity theft. Have you considered getting with a lawyer or some sort of company that could be tied back to any of your accounts and they could help you like scrub your information off the internet? There's plenty of these companies, by the way. So I would do something like that. I would do some research into, I would just do some personal research. That way you could just sleep at night. You could have a little bit more security in that way. And another thing, Magali, is consider getting a LLC, elected to an S Corp, maybe get into like a trust. Learn a way to get you as a person a little bit more separated from it all. Especially the LLC is cheap. It's helpful. This could be some serious words of wisdom for you in this regard. But when you're talking about like the mental piece of it, I just don't know exactly what you're going through because everything affects people at different levels. You'd have to kind of get into how it's been for you. What stress has it caused you? And typically when you feel stress and anxiety, the best response to it all is take action. And I feel like what I just shared with you is enough steps to get you going in the right direction. There are so many companies that you don't even need a call. You could just pay a service, hook it up to a bunch of things, whatever they need. Just make sure that you have maybe a lawyer involved in this to make sure that you're going with something that they refer. Let them know about your situation and then get going on the LLC concept because everyone should have their own business. Everyone should create a business for their children too. So, yeah, and Magali, just remember that everything that happens in your life is an opportunity. It always feels like a test. Everything that's negative is there to help you facilitate the most growth. Remember that. So what you're going through right now is actually a blessing. It's setting you up to be taking care of bigger things that support you with a much more abundant reality. And also learn security, learn secrecy, like learn how to be stealth on the internet. I'm not here to say that I know what the best things are. Proton Mail is pretty good. Try to look at VPNs that don't run on a US or Russian server. Get into some of that stuff, like learn the ways of the stealth ninja. Because that's what's going to help you when you go through a couple of these pieces of advices that I shared to reset up everything in a way that supports your information and data from being leaked again. But as far as I'm aware, there's these companies that you could plug in some of like your key information to, and they will just do whatever it takes to continually scrub out whatever that data is that leaks on even like a 24-hour basis. So it's a huge problem right now because you guys are probably aware what's even more valuable than a lead is the lead's data. And that data is being sold left, right, and center all day. Like every social media platform you sign up to, you're basically allowing them to take your data and repackage it and sell it over. And this is very useful to these tech companies. Razvan, sending love over to Romania. RTAC, you said, Waters, I've been a Patreon member since November 2022, invested in your crypto and expansion mastermind courses, learning, growing, and expanding my higher self. I appreciate you for being you. Yo, I appreciate you. That's all love. That's really amazing. It means a lot to me. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend. James L says, best live stream ever. That means a lot. I appreciate you. I'm reading through some of the comments that you guys are leaving in this. Peter McCardle says, you haven't met my ex, Jordan. She just sees my kids as a cash cow. Fuck. You know, it's so wild to talk about these concepts and ideas with 600, 700 people all at the same time. You know, by the time this posts, this will be heard by 4,000, 5,000 people just by the time it's done being broadcasted. Then when I wake up tomorrow, over the next couple of days, it's going to hit 8 to 10,000. So it's quite a risk for me to be here sharing these ideas. Because now if 10,000 people watch it, let's just say we remove about like 3,000 for repeat views or whatever, just some miscalculations on YouTube's end, that's 7,000 people. And if it was let's just have that. Let's have that. Let's assume that out of 7,000, 3,500 were listening with someone else. Okay. So now we have 3,500 individuals that have perhaps 1 to 2 to 5 different relationships, maybe a divorce in there. Maybe they're currently in a relationship right now. Maybe they're single. So this information is going to touch people in so many different ways across so many different, walks of life in different continents, countries all around the world. So first and foremost, it's important. And I know Peter was just kind of making a joke before, so this isn't at you, Peter, but in general, I have full-blown awareness of what this causes. And obviously, that's why I could even break into the maths and be very conservative with the maths in the process, okay? I honor it as it is. I'm aware that it's going to be personal to some people, Maybe even what I said, Sarah doesn't like. It was her super chat, like her question. And I try to even answer everything as if I'm speaking to a billion people, not just Sarah, regarding this specific super chat. I'm aware of this because I look at things in that spiritual sense. So it's tough to speak this way because of the reverberation of it all. Like, I know I'm speaking from my heart, but that doesn't mean that some people are not going to take it personally. And we talk about relationships, we talk about that kind of stuff. Like, you guys remember, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, where we talked about the idea of experiment versus relationship, and people were taking that hella personally. And I'm like, this isn't about you, homie. There's 10,000 people are going to listen to this. Like, you're making this about you? Like, come on. But that's just the nature of humans. When we're currently going through something and we're traumatized, that trauma flares up like a rash every time, the ego is proving to us that it needs healing. So I think that it's crucial, if any of this stuff that we're talking about here is tapping into you in that way and you're starting to take it personally, it's an opportunity to self-reflect. It's an opportunity to go, you know what? It stings a little bit because, and I'm being direct with you. There's shit that bothers me. You don't think that having 1,000 comments in a live chat floating by, like, that's not a process for me to sift through? There's shit that bothers me. I've just gotten over the 2 to 3 years of doing this. I've gotten more and more dialed in. I'm more Zen-like now. That's just my way. I'm a responder, not a reactor. And I'm working at it too. It's not about perfection. It's about seeking stillness. It's about mastering the mind. Or knowing when to shut off the mind so that the heart can listen. Right? So a lot of what we're doing here is an exercise of sweating in the sauna. Like, how long can you self-waterboard yourself? I know that sounds fucked up, and it's like a form of torture. But that's where your consciousness expands. It doesn't expand in a comfortable room. It's about embracing the pain. It's about embracing the suffering as a teacher. Because all of this pain actually heals you, but not until you're ready to face it. Just getting back to some of this. Jai says men are becoming feminine. That's real. Nick Cook says men are becoming more feminine because they watch AFL. I don't even know what that is. Ginny says we need real men. Okay. Okay. Daniel Hackett says the best thing in my life is the bond that I have with my wife and children. I've devoted my life to improving the relationship with my wife and children. I've learned a lot from toxic relationships. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I love hearing that. Peter said, my son seems quite masculine, goes to the gym, but he just met a girl and that has brought out his feminine side. What? This is funny. Yeah, we gotta explore more of this in the weeks to come. It's interesting. It's interesting how everyone has a different kind of take, but, you know, we all come to this perspective based on our experiences. Matt Ball says, driving home from a gig. Glad I made it to the live. Love you, brother. I love you too, man. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend so far. I hope you had a good time at the show. It's always great to be playing live music. I miss it. Ooh, this is good. Yes. This is a good one. Rare Lion. I like this. Rare Lion says, Jordan tells everyone to quote unquote grow a pair and become independent, yet he convinces everyone to follow him and depend on him for advice. That is what makes this a cult. You want some kisses? Yep. That's me convincing people. Yo, I love you, bro. I love you. I'm giving you a little smooch on the forehead right now. I'm tucking you in. Can you feel it? Can you feel me tucking you in? Your shivering body in the bed. Just needing daddy to help you out, get through the night. It's okay, son. I know. All right, let's get going. Daniel Hackett, we appreciate you, man. You sound like a really incredible leader, you know? Everything you're sharing is really beautiful, and I know a lot of people here really resonate with that. We need that. We need more men and more women. We just need more humans to step up and play their role, you know? Like, stop committing to shit if you're not willing to give it your all. That's it. Like, when you step into the role of being a partner to somebody, well, commit to that. When you step into the role of being a father, well, you got to commit to that. Max Hart Share Win says, Waters, I'm new to the Wolfpack from Pulse Chain. I've been seeing the numbers and eager to learn. I'm starting the mastermind and follow Red Hill. Can I fast track for this coming bull run? I'm not sure what you mean by Red Hill, but I appreciate your support and investing in yourself by investing in my course. That really means so much to me. And welcome. Welcome to the Wolfpack. It's so great to have you here with us. I do remember you joining Patreon recently, so that's, you know, you're on the right track regarding the amount of access to information. I would say maybe slow down. That would be my best advice. So you have access to 120 podcasts. I go over Pulse Chain and Hex quite a bit in a lot of them. I believe if you're focused on that ecosystem, first and foremost, there's an opportunity for you to have a more balanced portfolio and investment thesis. No offense, but this is just what needs to be told to most people that are new, is slow down with your seeking of information right now, just because you're probably inundated with information and you don't know how to utilize it yet. And the number one trap for a lot of people is they'll open up like 10 tabs on their browser with 10 different opinions. And when they're brand new, they just don't even know what's truth. They're spending more time like going through everyone's like broken down version of what truth is, that you rarely have an opportunity to resonate personally. So now, even if tomorrow you stopped watching my work and you hated what I was doing, that doesn't really affect me or bother me at all if you have found something that resonates with you more. I'm all for people seeking to resonate, not believe. Belief is for you internally. And my core philosophy is that when you believe in thyself and you resonate externally, you start to see the answers come to you exactly at the pace and cadence that's necessary to facilitate your success. Less is more. You probably have so much access to knowledge right now just by the past few commitments you've made to either joining my Patreon or course or somebody else's work. Maybe just take some time to get settled in there, like get comfortable there, and then see what works for you. But be cautious in seeking 20 different opinions about something, because you're always going to have like the Anthony Pomplianos and the Peter Schiffs. You're always going to have like the who's Michael Saylor, and you're going to have like there's always going to be like this opposing polarity game of who's the guy that's right. And typically the guy who wins is the one with the most charisma. So don't fall for that shit. You got to be in tune with what resonates with you. Don't be bamboozled by the guy who knows the most, because it's typically just going to create more confusion for you in this beginning stage. Building fundamentals is super important, and building it on the right foundation is going to help when you start building this tower up to keep it, safe if the storm comes. So the number one rookie mistake is for scattering your attention into too many different lanes all at once, to the point where you start to get so confused that it's actually a one step forward, two steps back approach. Probably be the best way that I could get going on where you're at. Robert Greiner, I appreciate your super chat, brother. You said Jordan recently went through 8th 24-hour dry fast, but I'm still having trouble with sleep. Waking up 1 to 2 hours too early every day for years. Can't go back to sleep. Hydration, sleep quality are prioritized. Robert, I appreciate your super chat. And so when it comes to quality of sleep, there's many other things that are involved besides just your digestion, your hydration levels, and your lymphatic system. It could very well be just basics coming back to your circadian rhythm and things that have to deal with melatonin production. Circadian rhythm is fascinating, and because we live in a technologically advanced world where we're getting most of our information off of screens, and the first thing we do when we wake up is utilize a screen to give our attention to, and typically the last thing we do before we go to sleep is look at a screen. This plays a big role into degrading the quality of sleep. So words of wisdom here would be, when you wake up, the first thing you should go look at is Mother Nature. Go outside. Try in the middle of the night if you wake up. I need to drink some water. Excuse me 1 second. All right, we're approaching 3 hours, so it's been like a marathon podcast. I'm going to do my best to get through this, but All right, Robert, I just want you to be cautious of when you're waking up in the middle of the night, if you ever do. Typically, people that are more hydrated than others tend to have that naturally. Try to have as many lights off in your house as possible, any artificial light. When you wake up in the morning, try to wake up and go get sunlight in your eyes immediately. Spend about 10 to 15 minutes outside. Even if it's raining, try to find an opportunity to look outside without it being in front of glass. So when you look at glass or outside from behind glass, that will change the spectrum of frequency that comes from the sun. And when it enters your iris, it will be different, much, much different. And it will change the hormonal reaction for what this scam called vitamin D is. It's not a vitamin, it's a hormone. It's a sterol released through your vision. You make eye contact with this spectrum of light directly without any barrier in front of you, such as glasses, contacts, glass, windshield, etc. And this is really, really important stuff for first thing in the morning. Now, the second thing is before you go to sleep, if you're like a night owl, some people are like night owls where their productivity is super late at night. This could be harmful for you in regards to sleep quality. So I actually tell people who suffer from this, make a alarm clock for when it's time to go to bed, and not an alarm clock for time to wake up. I know that's a luxury for people to not have an alarm clock for waking up. So if you're one of those people that absolutely needs the alarm clock for waking up for whatever reason, then obviously you need it. And I'm not telling you to not do that. You know, you might have commitments, taking your kids to school or whatever's going on. But when it comes to having an alarm clock for time to go to bed is something we never hear of. And that could be extremely helpful for people, especially those who have like addictions to looking at their phone. Or they tend to look at the phone, let's just say, with intent for like 5 to 10 minutes, but it becomes an hour. Then it goes to 2 hours. And they don't even know they're doing it. It's like a zombification. You know what I'm saying? Like a hypnosis. So yeah, that would probably be two things to immediately consider is that when you wait for the first hour of your day, the last hour of your day, don't look at a phone. The next thing, alarm clock for bed, which get your ass in bed earlier and make that a new rhythm for yourself. Sleep when the sun sleeps, wake when the sun wakes. You know, that could be a basic concept. I know in the winter, it could be tough for people, especially if you're living in like Russia or Iceland or whatever, where you have like 24 hours of darkness, but you know what I mean. And if you have the luxury of not having an alarm clock in the morning, good. That shit's inhuman. Nobody should be waking up to the sound of an alarm blaring in your ear. I'm trying to think of some other things because it sounds like you're already aware of effective hydration, and I don't want to just repeat stuff that you already are aware of. With these 24-hour dry fasts under your belt, those are good, but push a 48. See what it's like doing a 48. Give that a go. You're saying you're waking up 1 to 2 hours early every day for years, but you're just having trouble with sleep. So that advice that I shared about the alarm clock for sleep could be helpful in that regard. Hydration and sleep. Yeah, so you already... Yeah, get more fruit in. Get more fruit in, and if you have alcohol as part of your regimen, I would consider maybe cutting back on alcohol or... Get your alcohol in during peak hours of sunlight. This is like a little trick, biohack sort of deal. So I don't know what time that is for everyone. Of course, it's going to be different for everyone, but like around 1 to 5. Don't see this late night drinking culture is really problematic for your circadian rhythm and your digestion and just overall health. When your body is able to, when your liver is able to deal the most with alcohol, it's like within that tight window of like 1 to 3, 1 to 5 p.m. But I just say this because let's just say you're the type of person that you have dinner at like 7 and then you knock back 2 glasses of wine and then you're feeling a little buzz. That could right there be affecting your sleep cycle. So I don't know everything about you, obviously. This is like what I do when I talk with people on like one-on-one client calls. Start getting into the nitty-gritty and figuring it out from there, blueprinting it all. Let me look through some of these. Questions? Much love to Logan over at Decode Your Reality. Appreciate you showing up, brother. Hope you're having an amazing Saturn day. It's really great to have you here with us. And I would love to be able to connect very soon. Let's make it happen. Been a while. All right, family, we're on 3 hours. I'm going to get to the last couple things here, and then we're going to wrap this up. Okay, Crypto Royer, you brought up the advice of THC and CBD, and I would say don't do that. Never, ever, ever, ever rely on any product to get yourself to sleep, including CBD. This is the worst trap of all because you leverage on these things and they become a crutch. Don't ever create crutches consciously. So this is why my advice is never this sort of stuff. Crutches will fuck you. Like, I know people like to have a quick fix and we like everything to be in a dropper or a pill, something that could be put in our hand or slide down our throat. But that's a slippery slope, man. I'm not anti-CBD or anti-marijuana or any of that. Do you? But when we're trying to solve problems with some sort of product, that becomes a crutch, and then you'll always need that, and then you'll need to increase your dose accordingly. And then if you don't have that, you're going to blame your sleep and not having the product, and then it just, you're always leaning on it. And a big piece of my core philosophy and methodology is the body heals thyself. So if you're having an issue with anything, it is never outside of you that fixes the problem. It is something within you, and you cure that within you typically by doing nothing, whether that be fasting of the mind, fasting of the body, fasting of anything, movement, speaking. Silence is your friend. Darkness is your friend, not a product. So I do think that people need to be very cautious on this because this has become a theme where people are like, oh, just take some CBD and I'll go to sleep, And it's like you just traded off sleeping pills for a new thing. And I know people are going to be like offended. Some people are going to be offended by that because they're going to be like, you're talking as if it's the same as sleeping. Yeah, actually, because at the end of the day, that's all it adds up to. You use it the same. Your relationship is the same. The behavior that it creates with you and the item is the same. It's a crutch. So I never recommend that kind of shit. You won't hear me speak that way. I'm against supplements in all forms. Got to be very cautious with some of that stuff. Somebody says, is this a Christian channel? Would that change it for you? Would that be the end all? If we don't confirm the title, people love that. Humans love that shit. Humans are like, I want it to be the Christian, Trump supporting, flat earther, crystal. I want it to be, it's like they love all these titles. It just shows you where people are at. And if you don't subscribe to any of those titles, that like your public enemy number, like it's like now there can't be truth flowing from this avenue. What a shame. Beat Mutant. That's really funny. Beat Mutant said, I'm shorting identity theft. That's hilarious. All right. Let me get to these final. I'm just looking at some of these comments. Nick Cook said, how many people in this community do you think have actually met each other IRL? Well, there has actually been several successful meetups. One of them happened in Australia. I believe multiple have happened in Australia. Multiple have happened in the Netherlands as well. And there has been people taking action to do meetups in different cities throughout the United States. It's been a huge mission, a part of my mission, to get people to take action to organize their own meetups. I actually did something inside of the Mastermind community in our Discord that's called Wolves Meetup that gave the entire community free reign to organize all their meetups if they would like. I had zero control over it, where I just said, you do you, have fun. If you want to go for it, do it. Don't wait around for me to tell you. So I don't know what you're asking or what your statement is. But maybe this is built off of some of the other nonsense comments that came in earlier. But anyone who's here is welcome to. You guys are grown-ups. Have fun. All right. Artak, I appreciate your super chat, brother. You said, Waters, I'd like to hear your perspective on Armenia and the tragic events of 1915. Excuse me. The Armenian genocide remains a contentious. Excuse me. My phone is like glitching out right now. 1 second, family. There's something going on. I don't know if it's my internet connection, but it like keeps taking my chat and like swooping it up. Okay, I need to find your question again. All right, there it is. You said, I'd like to hear your perspective on Armenia and the tragic events of 1915. The Armenian genocide remains a contentious issue, with Turkey's denial and U.S. support adding to complexity. Artak, are you Armenian? Do you still live in Armenia? Yeah, that's really tragic, what I've learned about with their genocide and how it's glazed over by a lot of other things. But you know how it is. History is written by the winners, and history is spread. The stories of history are spread through the, profit machine. So as long as it could fulfill the bigger agenda, then that's what they focus on. But as for this year of 1915, I honestly I can't answer that. I don't know enough about Armenia and their history, although I've met many Armenians and they've always treated me very well. I don't really know specifically about them. And I'll also be honest, throughout my decoding that I've been releasing over the past 3 years, there's been nothing that's piqued my interest of importance enough for me to dive deeper. So no disrespect, it's just like there hasn't been anything that I see being big enough to connect to, like the scale of where I think my work likes to focus. Like I try to not get too deep into specific, like tiny little things unless there's a really big connection to it all. I hope that makes sense. So, when we talk about certain things, we try our best to have it fractal out into something that makes the most sense, has the most utility, and not to isolate too much, because once we start overly isolating, the decoding system starts to become impure, and it starts to be easy to just find the numbers that you want to make work for you. And that's a typical thing with novice decoders, is they tend to just seek the connections instead of let the connections flow to them. So if anyone watches my decodes, a lot of the time this happens. It probably just happened last week or 2 weeks ago, where I have some presented stuff that I'm working on, but then I set it up in a way where it's like a song that there'll be a guitar solo. And at that guitar solo part, I know what key I got to play in, but I just kind of give that space so that I could let it flow to me. And I hope this makes sense with what I'm saying right now, is that there's obviously a lot of newer decoders that they want to make it fit in. Like they want to make these connections fit because that's, that makes them feel satisfied. But for me, that's not how I work. I was never about trying to make things fit in. I've based everything back into mythology, and through that astrology side of things into specifically mythology, and also bringing it back to human anatomy and just awareness of esoterica. So it's based and has a foundation in something. And, you know, many times during my decodes with that empty space that I allow to really freestyle it, some of the most profound connections come in. We talked about that a little bit earlier with that Georgia on my mind connection back to the Trump decode that I was working on. Like a lot of that just came to be like by mistake. A lot of the technical analysis shit that happens where we find some really cool experimental analysis is completely by mistake. It just happens through exploration, you know? So that's kind of the thing. I guess for me, I haven't really found anywhere that Armenia pieces into this. But there is definitely something to Turkey. And I'm open-minded to it now that you're bringing it to my attention. It could be something. And you know, I'm really sitting back in my heart right now as I answer this because I shared a theory about the Balkan nations and how I know they're going to be ritualized and I know they're going to play a big role in what's to come for this like new world order or whatever you want to call it. So you're making me think now, brother. Perhaps maybe in a month or so, I'll dive a little deeper into that theory again about the Balkan nations. And this came to be from the NBA finals with, what is his name? Djokovic. And then you have that other Serbian guy that's like the best tennis player, allegedly. Again, I don't watch sports, so I'm just taking the exoteric and I'm decoding it to get the esoteric to provide some, you know, structure into how these events could be revealing to us what's going to happen on the world stage. And I think that decode, that I released, the NBA Finals decode, reveals so much gems about what's going to happen to that particular part of the world. And like Greece has been flooded out. We just saw crazy flooding in Turkey. I mean, they're fucking this place up. I mean, it's sad. It's real sad. I mean, I know people who live in Greece and Turkey. Like it's really, I talked about this earlier in the podcast, you know, like this tragedy of it all. So yeah, I mean, Armenia has been ritualized, obviously. And I think they need to take over that whole area as the real purpose of this so-called Russia-Ukraine conflict. Like they have what's exoteric to have you look here so you don't look there. And then they use the most exoteric thing, which is sports, things like the Olympics rituals and all that shit, the opening ceremonies, to tell you exactly what their plans are. So I feel like I'm onto something with this. And now that you're bringing back the Armenia concept, you know, it's really opening up my mind. So I appreciate you. We'll see. We'll see in the coming months where this all fits in. Satoshi Brakamoto says, what rhymes with Satoshi Nakamoto? I love you, brother. I hope you're doing well. I'm sending you lots of love. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend. Appreciate you. Looking forward to our next expansion group coaching call. Well, Mr. Obvious, I've never smoked in my whole life. Nothing. Let me see. Nick, I know like you weren't referencing that at all. I was just trying to answer the statement you were making. Because not everyone is inside of the mastermind community. So maybe they don't know. But that is something that I've been trying to push out to the community to take action on if they would like. All right. All right, family. I am going to sign off. It has been a 3-hour live stream, one for the books. It's been beautiful hanging out with you guys for a while. And for us getting to 800 people on this one and signing off around 500, it's beautiful to have so many like-minded individuals organizing together on this Saturday. I'm wishing you all a beautiful rest of your weekend in the Matrix. And anyone who is over on Patreon in the Mastermind community, I will have the new Red Pill podcast out tomorrow. It will be the preparation for the end of the Jubilee, because that is just 1 week away. Rosh Hashanah is next Saturday, believe it or not. So I've been talking about this now for over a year and a half, specifically to this date, and we're right around the corner. Got the 22nd anniversary of 9/11 coming up on Monday. So we'll be touching on all those things, kind of like a more flowy red pill. I don't know if we'll necessarily get into a full decode. We'll see. I'll do the preparation tomorrow morning based off of some of the things I've been thinking about all day today. And just really excited to share it all. I'm looking forward to getting into these charts and seeing where the market's at in preparation for one of the biggest weeks we're going to have in probably the whole year. So I appreciate y'all. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of your day.